Chapter 2473, Three Lives? Weapon Master Bing had made the god's sword for Lin Feng. It was filled with a mysterious strength, which allowed it to improve and adapt according to Lin Feng's strength. Lin Feng's intent was inside. Weapon Master Bing had told Lin Feng back then that he would help him make it more powerful. Lin Feng never thought that the godly weapon master would ever help him. "Why do you want to help me?" asked Lin Feng, handing over his god's sword to the godly weapon master. He was curious. The master had brought him to Sealed Imprint Mountain, and he had even asked Feng Yemo to help. Only a few people in the continent of the Nine Clouds could ask Feng Yemo for help. Lin Feng didn't understand. "What do you think?" said the godly weapon master, smiling. "The shrine's leader," said Lin Feng to the godly weapon master. The godly weapon master was such a prestigious cultivator. The Fortune Shrine's leader was probably the only person he knew who could ask him to help Lin Feng, or even convince him to show up and act as a referee. Lin Feng never thought such things would happen. "Maybe, but there are other reasons," the godly weapon master agreed. "For example, Feng Yemo has been waiting for you the whole time." "Waiting for me?" Lin Feng was stunned. He didn't understand. Feng Yemo was an incredible cultivator who had lived for a countless number of years. He had even sealed a whole world. "Yes, you can ask him," the godly weapon master said. Lin Feng looked at Feng Yemo. Feng Yemo smiled and looked back at him, saying, "Let's go in. That boy is mysterious. He doesn't like it when other people hear about his personal life. Let's go," the godly weapon master told Lin Feng and the others. They quickly arrived in front of a flight of stairs and climbed them, arriving in front of a celestial jade stage. There was a throne there, where Feng Yemo usually practiced cultivation. Lin Feng glanced around. They were at the top of a mountain with incredible qi. Original strength kept rising to the skies. There were many prayer mats in 2 lines before the throne. It was probably a place where Feng Yemo gave lectures to his disciples. Only Feng Yemo and his disciples could come here. "I've been waiting for you for a very long time indeed." Feng Yemo turned around and looked at Lin Feng. He smiled calmly. Lin Feng had the impression Feng Yemo was an incredible entity who stood at the top of all living creatures. And at the same time, he also looked lonely, which was understandable because he was so strong. "By the way, shouldn't you release my daughter?" Feng Yemo asked. Lin Feng paused. "Feng Mo's daughter? What's that supposed to mean, master?" Lin Feng didn't understand. "Empress Shi," said Feng Yemo smiled. Lin Feng's heart twitched violently. "Empress Shi? How is that possible? Wasn't Empress Shi the Three Lives Emperor's daughter?" "Master, Empress Shi, the Three Lives." Lin Feng looked at Feng Yemo, but he didn't know what to say. "He's the Three Lives, or in other words, the Three Lives Emperor is Feng Yemo," said the godly weapon master. Lin Feng was completely astonished. He tried to calm down, but he couldn't. He took a deep breath. The incredible Three Lives Great Emperor had bodies everywhere in the world. Apparently, he was also such an incredible cultivator as Feng Yemo. "I had thought that in the past back then, everybody thought that Empress Shi and the 9 Netherworld's Emperor's graves had been sealed by the Demon Sealer. However, there was the Three Lives gravestone as well, so I excluded the idea. Also, the Demon Sealer also sealed one of the Three Lives Emperor's clones, as if they were enemies. Did you do that on purpose?" Lin Feng asked Feng Yemo, and the godly weapon master burst into laughter. "Lin Feng, you're now so strong, but you're still so naive. You think Feng Yemo did everything himself in the small world? If he had done the seals himself, you think you could have broken them?" said the godly weapon master with a grin. "Many things are just legends. Many things are not true, but people firmly believe they are, especially when it's about things that happened thousands or even tens of thousands of years ago." "I'm so stupid," said Lin Feng, smiling wryly. Indeed, Feng Yemo was such a terrifying entity. He didn't need to act himself in the small world. He didn't go there personally. "How many clones do you think the Three Lives Emperor has?" asked Feng Yemo, smiling at Lin Feng. Lin Feng looked pensive. According to legends, the Three Lives Emperor was a Buddhist cultivator. His historical vestiges had appeared in Shuiyu and the Death Valley in the small world, and some had also appeared in the Celestial Evolution Holy Clan, and even in the imperial court of the continent of the Nine Clouds. I have no idea, said Lin Feng, shaking his head after having remained silent for a few seconds. Indeed, the Three Lives Emperor means absolutely nothing. It's just a nickname I picked up randomly. When I was trying to become stronger a long time ago, I used that nickname so that all my clones could benefit from the same reputation. I used all of them to practice cultivation, but I never stopped. Maybe I myself don't even know how many clones I have. Feng Emo laughed in amusement. Lin Feng sighed. Feng Emo didn't care much about worldly affairs. He had many descendants. He didn't care about them. He just wanted to fuse his bloodline together with many women's blood to become stronger as well, like many strong cultivators. As long as people considered all his clones as the Three Lives demonic emperor, then things were perfect. Of course, Lin Feng trusted Feng Emo and hoped he'd reach the same level someday. Lin Feng closed his eyes and a few seconds later, Empress Shi appeared. Feng Emo smiled at Empress Shi and said, "Come here, my child." Empress Shi stared at Feng Emo and didn't move, but a certain strength surrounded her and pulled her towards Feng Emo. Feng Emo caressed her head and smiled. Having one's own lineage is not easy. Now you'll stay in the sealed imprint mountain and practice cultivation here. When you become strong enough, I'll let you go. Lin Feng, Feng Emo said to Lin Feng. Actually, we've known each other for a very long time. You also practiced the Three Lives scriptures. If you haven't reached a high enough level, feel free to ask me. Thank you very much, Master, said Lin Feng. He really wanted to know many things. Feng Emo seemed not to care about the outside world, and at the same time, he seemed to know a lot. Besides, how strong was Feng Emo? But you said you had been waiting for me for a very long time. Why? Asked Lin Feng. Feng Emo remained silent for a few seconds and smiled. Wait until you become strong enough. And then? Asked Lin Feng. Then you'll get killed, said the godly weapon master before Feng Emo had time to talk. Lin Feng started trembling. They would wait for him to become strong enough, and then they'd kill him. Don't think I'm joking, said the godly weapon master, smiling at Lin Feng, as if he had been talking about something ordinary. Many people are hiding in the darkness. They want to kill you too. Feng Emo isn't the only one, and those people won't give you time to become strong enough to kill you, such as the shrines. Therefore, your shrine's leader made me bring you here to help you make a sword. Do you know what kind of sword we're talking about here? Lin Feng shook his head. Of course he didn't know. A sword which has the power to seal things. I'm the best weapon maker in the continent of the Nine Clouds. Feng Emo is the best sealer and the best seal breaker. We'll join hands to make a sword for you. Lin Feng's heart was pounding violently. Is it because of the celestial sealing map? Indeed. The Fortune Shrine's leader is very thoughtful and attentive. He's not worried about your strength, but he knew the celestial sealing map is dangerous for you. The shrine's leader is thoughtful, thought Lin Feng. He hadn't thought the shrine's leader would organize so many things for him. The celestial sealing map wasn't an offensive weapon, but it was terrifyingly efficient at sealing spaces. An entire city had been sealed, so it could also be used to seal smaller spaces. The godly weapon master clapped Lin Feng's shoulders and smiled. Hurry up and become stronger. Many people are waiting for you to become stronger. Thank you, Master. No need to thank me. It's something I've been responsible for since my previous life. You don't need to know everything for now. When the right time comes, the shrine's leader will tell you everything. You'll trust him more than me, said the godly weapon master. Lin Feng sighed. At his cultivation level, there were still so many mysterious things. Only a few people knew about those things in the whole world. Lin Feng might believe him or not. That's why the godly weapon master said Lin Feng would probably trust the shrine's leader more. You're so talkative. Let's make the weapon. Lin Feng can have a rest, Feng Emo said to the godly weapon master. The godly weapon master nodded and agreed. Let's go then. The two great masters left. Lin Feng looked at Empress Shi and told her everything. Things happened naturally. This world was incredible. What do you intend to do? Empress Shi asked him. They were chatting naturally. Practice cultivation, said Lin Feng looking at the sky. He needed to practice for a very long time to be able to compete with the strongest cultivators in the world. What about you? He said I have to stay here and become stronger. We'll see what happens, said Empress Shi. She didn't look cold at all anymore. She looked friendly and devastatingly beautiful. I underestimated you back in the days. Both my clones fell in love with you and became your wives, said Empress Shi, glancing at Lin Feng. Who knows? Maybe someday you'll fall in love with me too, said Lin Feng jokingly. Impossible, said Empress Shi, smiling gently. Brother Netherworlds will always be in my heart. Chapter 2474. Determination and Counteroffensive. Continent of the Nine Clouds, the Fire Shrine. Buildings were bathing in flames. In one place, 7 people were seated cross-legged and discussing something. Everybody, we failed again. Not only hasn't Lin Feng died, but the godly weapon master also took him away. The old man of the Fortune Shrine knew that if Lin Feng stayed, we would join hands to kill him, said someone. Everybody looked at a cultivator in golden clothes, the Rock King. This time, Brother Rock helped us and tried to take him by surprise. We were sure it would work. Go and try yourself, the Rock King grunted icily. Brother Rock, you're extremely fast. Nobody is faster than you in the continent of the Nine Clouds. If you can't kill him by surprise, who can? The Fortune Shrine can predict the future, and are very thoughtful. The problem is that so many peerless cultivators are protecting Lin Feng, said the Fire Shrine's leader, defending the Rock King. But Lin Feng left, it's a disaster. The Celestial Sound Shrine and the Earth Shrine are really audacious. They decided to form an alliance with the Fortune Shrine in such circumstances. What do you think we should do? The Celestial Sound Shrine and the Earth Shrine want to bring about their own destruction, so we'll help them. I'm convinced that if we succeed, the Thunder Shrine and the Soul Shrine will not dare do anything against us ever again, said the Ice and Snow Shrine's leader icily. Of course, we can't offend them yet. Otherwise, they will directly join the Fortune Shrine's alliance. We need to succeed, and then we'll talk to them. They will make the right decision if we succeed. The leaders of the 6 shrines smiled. They could already imagine themselves as the leaders of the imperial court of the continent of the Nine Clouds. Of course, I hope that nobody has doubts amongst us. Forming such an alliance was difficult. If anyone doesn't do their best, we'll be in a weak position, and we won't be able to withstand a single attack, warned the Fire Shrine's leader. Everybody nodded slowly. They understood that. The 6 shrines alliance was something rare, but it could also be destroyed easily. What would happen if anyone stabbed anyone else in the back? What should we do first? Asked the Empty Space Shrine's leader. We need to make some more teleportation portals between our different shrines, and keep our core disciples in the shrines to protect us. When we have an opportunity, we can strike, said the Fire Shrine's leader. Now is the right time. What do you think? Asked the Dazzling Gold Shrine's leader. Everybody looked at him. The Fortune Shrine's alliance is composed of the Fortune Shrine themselves, the Earth Shrine, the Celestial Sound Shrine, the World Clan, and Lin Feng's few friends. We are 6 shrines and the Rock King is with us. If we attack them at the same time, what will happen? Said the Dazzling Gold Shrine's leader. Everybody's eyes glittered. We could try to attack once by surprise, said the Fire Shrine's leader, after having remaining silent for a few seconds. The goal should be the Celestial Sound Shrine. Now, get ready to go back, convoke your peerless saints, and protect your shrines properly. At the same time, find 3 peerless saints to attack. I think that way, we won't suffer any loss. What does everybody think? All right. Everybody nodded. Every shrine had to send 3 peerless saints, or it would be too difficult. All right, go back, we can talk further using talismans. Everybody stood up and used the teleportation portal the Fire Shrine had made to leave for their own shrines. Very quickly, only 2 people were left. They smiled indifferently. How strong are you now? Asked the Fire Shrine's leader. Quite strong. This spell was difficult to learn, but I think I'll master it soon, said the Ice and Snow Shrine's leader. What about you? You seem high-spirited and vigorous lately. I'm all right too, said the Fire Shrine's leader, smiling. He stood up and said, You can go back too. All right, we'll meet again in the Celestial Sound Shrine, said the Ice and Snow Shrine's leader. He left using a teleportation portal as well. Things were progressing quickly on their side. After what had happened in the Fortune Shrine, the continent of the Nine Clouds calmed down again. However, the inhabitants of the continent of the Nine Clouds had a bad premonition that it was the calm before the storm. Someone in the celestial sound shrine raised their head and looked at the sky. Then he slowly rose up into the air and floated up into the sky of the celestial sound shrine. He wasn't the only one. Some more people appeared in the sky of the celestial sound shrine and looked at the ground. People from the celestial sound shrine were surprised. Those cultivators were terrifyingly strong. They were from the Six Shrines Alliance. The news that the celestial sound shrine and the fortune shrine had formed an alliance had quickly spread in the region, and these people wanted to punish the celestial sound shrine for it. But at that moment, those people remained silent, as the celestial sound shrine was nearly empty. "We were quick, but they were even quicker," said one of them. Golden lights illuminated the celestial sound shrine. Many of their sites have been destroyed. They took their books and items away and gave up the shrine. How incredible! The group of saints was stupefied. Giving up a shrine was symbolic in the continent of the Nine Clouds. The celestial sound shrine had done it, but if they came back someday, it'd mean they'd come back as winners. If they didn't, then they wouldn't be the celestial sound shrine anymore. At the same time, in the sky above some castles of the dazzling gold shrine, dazzling golden lights flashed, and energies appeared indistinctly. Some people descended slowly from the sky. The members of the dazzling gold shrine raised their heads, stupefied. Someone howled furiously. "Activate the great deployment spell and the teleportation portal. Inform all the shrines. Quickly!" A terrifying sound spread out, and millions of lights filled the air. People dropped like flies, one after another. At the same time, destiny lights surrounded the whole shrine. It was the heavenly laceration attack. "Fast!" shouted someone desperately. Beams of lights dashed to the skies. Some people activated the teleportation portal. Many people appeared in the dazzling gold shrine, and Peerless Saint's chi swelled forth. At the same time, golden lights turned into light curtains and surrounded the whole shrine. "Explode!" shouted the Earth Shrine's leader explosively. A gigantic axe appeared. It looked like a god's axe as it descended from the sky in a peal of thunder. The shrine shook violently, and many of the dazzling gold shrine's buildings exploded. At the same time, a strong wind started blowing. In a very short time, many strong cultivators died. "Why are you not attacking yet?" shouted someone explosively. "They have better weapons. Next time, we can't let the leaders leave with the weapons." What a tragedy! They had just suffered great losses. The dazzling gold shrine's leader, who was at the celestial sound shrine, suddenly turned deathly pale when he learned about what had just happened. He rushed back. Initially, they wanted to attack the celestial sound shrine by surprise, but without them, it was impossible to protect themselves against all their other enemies. The dazzling gold shrine's leader's heart twitched. He had proposed attacking the celestial sound shrine by surprise. He couldn't blame anyone. "Back! Everybody use the teleportation portal. Let's go back to the shrines," shouted someone furiously after hearing the dazzling gold shrine's leader. The others pulled long faces. The fortune shrine and their allies used their best weapons to attack. The others remained silent. The fire shrine's leader said, "Since they gave up, you can also give up the dazzling gold shrine. This time, we didn't anticipate well enough. If we want to destroy them completely, that's the price we have to pay." I wouldn't have thought the fortune shrine would be so good at scheming though. They managed to make 2 shrines give up their shrines. "Yes, Brother Jean. When we created the alliance, we weren't worried. We didn't think they could make a counterattack. We didn't think they would find a way to get their revenge. We didn't act quickly enough, and we gave them an opportunity," said the Ice and Snow Shrine's leader. They had reached a point of no return. Chapter 2475. New structures in the continent of the Nine Clouds. Du City had been attacked. The Fortune Shrine, the Earth Shrine, the Celestial Sound Shrine, and the World Clan had formed an alliance to resist the Six Shrines Alliance. After what happened in Du City, the world had become even more unstable, and the battles were even fiercer. The Six Shrines Alliance didn't dare act too recklessly anymore. Even in the Six Shrines Alliance, It would still be a disaster for the dazzling gold shrine, because they would never be able to grow and catch up the 5 other shrines. Of course, it also meant that if anything happened, they would have no power to decide, and they wouldn't be able to protect their interests anymore, either. At the same time, in the imperial court of the continent of the 9 clouds, the various influential groups also started gathering and becoming stronger. Drops of water gathered to become lakes and rivers. They didn't want to watch and do nothing in the chaotic world. They had to be careful, otherwise the shrines might try to destroy them. The shrine's leaders were extremely strong, and they had some peerless saints. Very quickly, the news spread that the Fortune Shrine, the Celestial Sound Shrine, and the Earth Shrine had given up their territories. They had dispersed in various places of the continent of the 9 clouds. Even if the Fire Shrine and their allies did all they could only find individuals dispersed all over the continent. The real battles would only happen at the level of peerless saints. So, all the other members could do was become peerless saints, and then they'd be strong enough to participate in the battles. People were amazed. The Fire Shrine and their alliance were stronger, but the Fortune Shrine and their allies still managed to give their enemies headaches. Attacking by surprise was now impossible. They had learned from the mistakes of the dazzling gold shrine. Now the war was going to last for a very long time. However, what happened in that chaotic world wouldn't have any impact on Lin Feng. He had disappeared in time past. After many years, nobody mentioned Lin Feng's name anymore. He had already become like many ancient cultivators who were famous, because they had shaken the continent of the 9 clouds back in the days. He had risen, and then he had disappeared. Gradually people forgot about him. In the Fortune Shrine, or more precisely, in the ruins of the Fortune Shrine, because there was nothing left there, a figure landed on a wrecked building. That cultivator sighed and left. At the same time, in the lower world in the Holy City, there was someone outside of Tiantai's territory, but Tiantai wasn't there anymore. That cultivator stayed there for a long time, and then turned around and left. Lin Feng had Tiantai disappear hundreds of years ago to protect it. His enemies had already dared try to attack his family members, so he had to be very cautious. That's why he had made Tiantai vanish temporarily. A gigantic vortex appeared in the sky of the island of absolute isolation. The sky there was black, and the vortex absorbed everything. Next to the vortex was a figure. He was watching the vortex absorb everything and felt tiny. That person's face was pitch black, as if he were dead. However, some lights twinkled around his body, protecting him from the dark strength. After a while, that person disappeared into the vortex. After a long time, someone else arrived there. After a long time, that person was absorbed by the vortex. It was a never-ending cycle. In Ganji's time, many figures similar to those on the island of absolute isolation also appeared. Those figures appeared next to the original strength most of the time. There were also 2 figures seated and facing each other. They were all identical, and they released 2 different sorts of original strengths. Planets rotated, time passed. 500 years were a very long time for ordinary people. For weak cultivators, 500 years was a lifetime. However, for people from the imperial court of the continent of the 9 clouds, 500 years passed at in the blink of an eye. Those 500 years were special because there were many incredible cultivators. Some terrifying peerless saints even appeared. Of course, many people died too. The shrine's war continued. During those 500 years, someone incredible, which hadn't happened for dozens of thousands of years, happened. 360 years before, the Fire Shrine and their allies had many fierce battles against the members of the Fortune Shrine's alliance. Many half-saints, low-level saints, and high-level saints of Fire Shrine's alliance were killed by the Fortune Shrine's alliance every time they found one. Of course, they also lost many strong cultivators. The battles were tragic. A peerless saint of the dazzling gold shrine and a peerless saint of the wind shrine were killed quickly at the gate of a shrine. The dazzling gold shrine also killed a peerless saint of the celestial sound shrine. After that, the 6 shrines alliance wasn't strong enough anymore. They needed a new ally, so they asked the Soul Shrine, but they refused. When the Soul Shrine refused, the celestial ceiling map enveloped their territory. When the celestial ceiling map was lifted, the soul shrine had already disappeared. The day after, a teleportation portal in the Thunder Shrine flashed many times, and then the news that the Thunder Shrine had joined the Fire Shrine's alliance spread everywhere. A shrine had been destroyed after all. But things didn't stop there. The Soul Shrine had been destroyed and the Thunder Shrine had joined the Fire Shrine's alliance, which had become extremely strong. The Fire Shrine, Ice and Snow Shrine, Empty Space Shrine, Dazzling Gold Shrine, Thunder Shrine, Wind Shrine, and Demon Shrine had become the 7 Shrines Alliance. They were the strongest influential group. Apart from that, the Fortune Shrine, the Celestial Sound Shrine, the Earth Shrine, and the World Clan became the second influential group. The Buddha Shrine and the Life Shrine didn't get involved in worldly affairs. The Hell Shrine wasn't in the continent of the 9 clouds. Nobody knew whether the Light Shrine existed or not. The Fire Shrine's alliance was getting ready to rise and dominate the world. For that reason, they wanted to oppress the influential groups of the world. But the problem was that the influential groups had formed alliances to resist the shrines. They had agreed on 3 battles. If the Fire Shrine's alliance won, the influential groups would join the Shrine's alliance. If the Fire Shrine's alliance lost, they would let those influential groups live in peace. However, 2 independent cultivators appeared on the side of the influential groups, and they won the battles. The Shrine's alliance wasn't happy. They want to keep the 2 cultivators and make them join the shrines. In the end, 8 Peerless Saints took measures and didn't manage to trap those 2 cultivators. And the worst thing was that they even managed to kill a Peerless Saint from the Shrine's alliance. After that, the Fire Shrine gave up. That battle amazed the whole continent of the 9 clouds. Their names reverberated everywhere. One of them was a complete stranger who had suddenly appeared. He had been practicing cultivation in secret for many years. His name was Zizhu, the Supreme Cultivator. The other one used to be extremely famous back in the days. Saintly Emperor Shi the Demon. Of course, those things had happened a long time before, and people still took delight in talking about them, just like people enjoyed talking about Lin Feng's adventures once in a while. In a restaurant in Fortune City, some people were talking about those 2 people. Even though the Fortune Shrine had been destroyed, Fortune City still existed. The Fire Shrine was cruel, but they had no interest in destroying ordinary citizens. Many of those people used to be extremely weak, ordinary disciples of the Fortune Shrine, or family members of those disciples. They weren't important at all. The saints didn't need to do such things, it would only bring them trouble. But now, Fortune City wasn't in a great situation, and there were people from everywhere there, unlike in the past when everyone was related to the Fortune Shrine. "What does the Fire Shrine's leader want to do this time?" asked someone. "Do we need to talk about it?" There are more and more independent cultivators who join influential groups and know they can threaten the shrines. 1 or 2 shrines wouldn't be as strong as them. Indeed, but Zizhu and Saintly Emperor Shi the Demon's meeting won't bring anything this time. Not necessarily. After all, the shrines didn't use their full strength last time. This time things are different. Zizhu, the Supreme Cultivator, has already started gathering people and independent cultivators. I guess he wants to create an alliance, which will be able to compete with the Shrine's alliance. A young man drinking alcohol alone in the restaurant heard those people. He raised his glass and took a sip, smiling strangely. Chapters 2476. Tianshui City was the city where the Independent Cultivators Alliance gathered. The city was very lively, with many cultivators. They had all gathered in one place, as the meeting was very important to them. Up in the sky, a young man was flying slowly. He was wearing simple, crude clothes, yet still looked elegant and free from vulgarity. He was a saint. So much snow. The young man stretched out his hand, and snowflakes fell onto his palm. A strange kind of strength appeared around him, and the snowflakes stopped moving around him. The young man smiled and continued moving ahead slowly. So many years had passed. He didn't even know how old he was anymore. In the continent of the 9 clouds, 500 years had passed, but in his own world, time passed differently. It moved much faster than in the continent of the 9 clouds. Now a few thousands of years had already passed in his world. Of course, his millions of clones, including some of his clones who were extremely strong, had gone to Ganji's time and had experienced different sorts of time strengths. Many of his clones were still in Ganji's time studying time. Feng Yamo, I can understand you now, thought the young man. In the past, he used to think that Feng Yamo was as strong as the leaders of the shrines. But now he thought differently. So many years had passed. Feng Yamo had created a character called the Three Lives Emperor. But nobody knew who the Three Lives Emperor was, how many sorts of strengths he had studied, or that maybe many of his clones were even stronger than the shrine's leaders. After a short time, the young man arrived in a place with many people. Saint Emperors seemed extremely weak among all those saints. Even though the shrines ruled over the continent of the Nine Clouds, there were many extremely strong cultivators from different worlds here. The shrines couldn't compete with such an army. All those strong cultivators together wielded explosive strength. Some of those people had incredible fighting abilities. Are the two of you sure you want to do things this way? Asked someone on the ground. Those people looked at three groups. The leader of one wearing cyan clothes. The leader of another group looked aggressive. Those two people were Zijou and Saintly Emperor Shi the Demon. The last group was small in comparison, but their cultivators were stronger. I've told you, those who want to be part of the Chaotic Sky Alliance can join me, Saintly Emperor Shi the Demon said indifferently. He had formed the Chaotic Sky Alliance. The Black Bamboo Alliance is also willing to welcome new recruits. Maybe someday, the Black Bamboo Alliance will become the Black Bamboo Shrine, said Zijou calmly. Many people shivered. That was precisely why some people had acknowledged Zijou and Saintly Emperor Shi the Demon, because of their decisions. They had many cultivators join them already. Since you have such incredible dreams, we can also become a powerful and influential group, said a strong cultivator of the third group. All those peerless saints had developed their groups. Saintly Emperor Shi the Demon and Zijou had relied on their achievements to attract people. Who will be the leader on your side? Asked Zijou, smiling indifferently. Those people looked surprised, as their group had the biggest number of peerless saints, 7. I was stuck in the godly grave for tens of thousands of years, and I became a supreme cultivator. I should become the leader. What do you think? Said one of them. The 6 other peerless saints just looked at him, and one of them said, Buddy, don't forget that I'm also one of the supreme cultivators. Why would you be the leader? Lin Feng was standing in the sky, and when he heard them, he was surprised. 2 supreme cultivators from the godly grave had gathered there, and were eager to participate. Indeed, if Ordinary and Sa Lung hadn't bumped into him, they wouldn't have gone to the Fortune Shrine. Maybe they would have become members of these 3 influential groups. The Fire Shrines Alliance had destroyed the Soul Shrine, which was meant to be a warning for everybody. They would kill anyone who was against them. I could also become the leader, said a peerless cultivator in black clothes, grunting icily. The 7 supreme cultivators all wanted to become leaders. Since you all can't agree, I should become the leader, interjected someone at that moment. The crowd turned around and looked at someone. He was seated on a big throne. His arms were crossed in front of his chest, and he was grinning at them. Some people looked at him sharply. How audacious! 7 peerless saints were arguing to become leaders. Even Saintly Emperor Shi the Demon and Zijou didn't even get involved. But he did? But many people frowned. His cultivation level was blurry. They couldn't see how strong he was. What does everybody think? Asked that young man with a smile. He looked strange. Even though he looked young, nobody could rely on appearance to evaluate someone's age. He might be extremely old. You're quite audacious, Your Excellency. Who are you? Asked a peerless saint detachedly. I'm Divine Wrath, the god's punishing hand, said Lin Feng. He didn't show up with his real body, of course. These days, nobody could know he was Lin Feng anymore, even peerless saints. How arrogant. That guy had chosen such an arrogant name. The god's punishing hand, Divine Wrath. Why would you want to become our leader? Asked that person, staring at Lin Feng. The 7 supreme cultivators all wanted to become the leader of their group. That's why they hadn't joined Saintly Emperor, Shi the Demon, and Zijou's groups. Otherwise, the Chaotic Sky Alliance and the Black Bamboo Alliance would have been enough. If I become your leader, I'll change the name of the alliance to Divine Wrath Alliance, and we'll destroy all the shrines. The Divine Wrath Alliance will become the Divine Wrath Shrine. We'll punish all our enemies. What do you think? Said Lin Feng, standing up and smiling at the 7 Supreme Cultivators. Supreme Cultivators, you wonder why I would be a good leader? Come and try me. How arrogant. I'll give it a try. Let's see if you're strong enough to become a leader, said one of the Peerless Saints, standing up. A terrifying chi filled the air, and the space suddenly became rigid. I can't move anymore. Many people were trembling when they realized they couldn't move anymore. How strong! How many kinds of original strengths had he fused together? That's how Peerless Saints became peerless. They understood original strengths at the maximum level, and then they fused them together. Once original strengths fused together, it was almost impossible to tell there were several sorts of strengths in them. At the same time, time strength modified the speed at which time passed. But it was impossible to sense. It was also impossible to know whether one was faster or slower. It was just a strange sensation. The Peerless Saint disappeared. A hand streaked across the sky, and the ground under them collapsed. The hand stuck Lin Feng, and his body exploded. Peerless Saints are all incredibly strong. The crowd was all watching in astonishment. Lin Feng's body had been crushed instantly. The crowd sighed. That guy was really reckless. He hadn't even been able to withstand a single attack, and he had died instantly. However, after a few seconds, the crowd was astonished again, because the pieces of his body condensed back together, and Lin Feng reappeared. He smiled at the Peerless Saint, standing there with his hands clasped behind his back. The Peerless Saint was astonished and stared at Lin Feng. He said, "What kind of original strengths did you make fuse together to create such a powerful attack?" "Guess," said Lin Feng, smiling. "Your attack wasn't enough, it seems. So let's continue." Chapters 2477. Actually, the Peerless Saint who had fought against Lin Feng was incredibly strong, and could make the space around him freeze completely. People couldn't move when he used his attack. But it hadn't worked. The Peerless Saint didn't do anything to anyone else, or could have killed everyone around. But at that moment he didn't understand. He had destroyed Lin Feng's body, but he hadn't managed to kill him, which meant that Lin Feng had fused some original strengths together, and created an incredible attack. The Peerless Saint was staring at Lin Feng. He walked towards Lin Feng, raising his hands and striking out. Hands filled the air as the space around them became ice cold. Lin Feng looked like a statue, and didn't move. A terrifying destructive strength surrounded him, and his body broke apart again. And his soul didn't disperse? The crowd was amazed. How could he survive against such terrifying attacks? Then Lin Feng's body started condensing again. He stood there with his hands clasped behind his back, still smiling. He looked at his opponent in a provocative way. "What do you think?" asked Lin Feng with a grin. "I'm curious to know what kinds of original strengths you fused together to create such a technique. But even if I can't kill you, you also need to defeat me to prove you're qualified to be a leader," said the Peerless Saint. Crushing Lin Feng's body was useless, so he understood that he couldn't defeat Lin Feng. "I can tell you one thing. A simple fusion of original strengths isn't enough to do this," said Lin Feng. "If you want to see my attack, I'll show you." "I'll see then," said the Peerless Saint, staring at Lin Feng warily. "I'm going to use a saint's technique I created. It took me 800 years to create it. During those 800 years, I studied cursing strength for 200 years. Then I studied the movements of the chi of the earth and the sky. Then I fused the chi of the earth and the sky, and the cursing strength together. After that, I spent some years traveling. I continued studying cursing strength and water too. I realized that cursing and water strength had something in common. Then it took me another 100 years to fuse them together. And then in the end I used all that knowledge to create a saint's technique," Lin Feng said slowly. His opponent was stupefied. Cursing strength was extremely rare. Understanding it at the maximum level was extremely difficult. This cultivator had fused cursing and water strength together in only 800 years. How incredible! He was almost invincible, which meant he had probably fused several sorts of original strengths at the maximum level to have such a great defense. He was a really powerful peerless saint. The reason why there could be such big differences between high-level saints themselves and peerless saints themselves was original strength. Studying original strength was something extremely complex, and if someone understood several sorts of original strengths, they were stronger than ordinary others. If they understood many special ones, then they were a lot stronger, and their comprehension and the way they used them in spells also played a role. Therefore, many peerless saints who controlled rare original strengths had incredible fighting abilities. But even that way, it was impossible to know who was stronger just seeing two peerless saints. Usually, those who controlled special types of original strengths were stronger. Zizhu and Saintly Emperor Shi the Demon, for example, were stronger than the others. Some extremely strong cultivators fused 3 or 4 sorts of original strengths together. That was already incredible. Lin Feng hadn't managed to do that yet. He had used the 3 live scriptures and created many clones to study all sorts of things, but he hadn't managed to make 3 sorts of original strengths fused together yet. "Be careful," said Lin Feng. A terrifying qi filled the air. Because Lin Feng warned his challenger, the crowd knew that that horrible sensation was due to the cursing strength. "I feel so bad," said someone. "If he attacked me, he could make me go insane instantly." The crowd raised their heads and saw some dark lights. They looked like abyssal waters. The crowd frowned because it hurt their eyes. "My water strength is also at the maximum level. Water can turn into steam. Water can turn to drops, and then condense together. He really mastered all the states of water," whispered a high-level saint on the ground. The peerless saint wasn't having a good time either. "Stop," said that cultivator icily. The space became rigid. "Cursing strength is invisible and intangible. You can't freeze it," said Lin Feng, smiling casually. The attack continued condensing. His challenger was suffering even more. "This kind of strength won't kill you immediately. It just gets more and more powerful. You get cursed slowly. The curse slowly eats your luck, your soul, and then you die." Lin Feng smiled. "Actually, this attack is not perfect. I wish I could make a powerful saint's attack, which would allow me to kill peerless saints instantly. Unfortunately, it's not that powerful. I'm not satisfied. You're really strong, but we can't let you become our leader. Saintly Emperor Shi the Demon and Zizhu aren't weaker than you," said the peerless saint, staring at Lin Feng. "So you still don't understand how incredible this kind of strength is," said Lin Feng patiently. A terrifying qi penetrated into his body. Black lights condensed and rolled out. Then they flowed through his body. The peerless saint stretched out his hand and noticed that his hand was rotting away. At the same time, his strength was also diminishing. Lin Feng took a step forwards. The rigid space shattered as his hand turned into a vortex, strength condensing around his body. Each time he took a step, his strength increased in intensity. The peerless saint was stupefied. He continued attacking Lin Feng. Crackling sounds spread in the air again. Lin Feng's body turned into pieces and absorbed his strength, then condensed again, and continued walking forward slowly. Lin Feng looked like a peerless aggressive god. The peerless saint's heart was pounding. The strength was still corroding his organs. "I accept having you as a leader," said the peerless saint finally. The strength instantly disappeared. Lin Feng removed the strength from inside his body too, using life strength. "How strong?" The peerless saint sensed the incredible life strength and was startled. He couldn't compete with this man. Could Saintly Emperor Shi the Demon and Zizhu compete with such a cultivator? "What about you?" Lin Feng asked the other members of the third group. "What is your stance regarding the fire shrine?" asked one of them to Lin Feng. "Enemies," said Lin Feng indifferently. "The Fire Shrine's alliance only has 2 ultimate goals. The first one is to absorb you and make you join their alliance. The second one is to destroy you if you don't submit. Therefore, you must have the same goals regarding them. There is no third option. If I become the leader, I'll do my best for things to happen smoothly. Since it's that way, I agree, we can become the Divine Wrath Alliance," said the others, nodding at Lin Feng. 3 groups of independent cultivators had just been formed. Divine Wrath Alliance, Black Bamboo Alliance, Chaotic Sky Alliance were all friends. If anyone is attacked by the Shrine's alliance, we have to help them. What do you think? Lin Feng asked Zijou and Saintly Emperor Shi the Demon with a friendly smile. Of course, replied Zijou with a smile. I agree, said Saintly Emperor Shi the Demon, glancing at Lin Feng. It was the first time Lin Feng met him, so to say. The first time in the supreme ancient pit of hell didn't count. Chapters 2478. Lin Feng knew that the Divine Wrath Alliance was the most unstable alliance. Saintly Emperor Shi the Demon and Zijou's battle had shaken the continent of the Nine Clouds many years before. It had already determined their path. When conditions are ripe, success is naturally achieved. But the Divine Wrath Alliance had just been formed. Lin Feng had suddenly appeared and had created it. He had forced them to accept him as a leader. Leader, actually we gathered for a reason today. You should know about it, a Peerless saint said to Lin Feng. I know. The Fire Shrine wants to organize a meeting again in 3 days, and not far from Tianshui City. The Wind City is one of the shrine's dens, confirmed Lin Feng indifferently. He understood perfectly. That's why he had come. What do you intend to do, leader? Asked that Peerless saint. Many people looked at Lin Feng. Since he had taken the reins and become the leader of the Divine Wrath Alliance, what did he intend to do? You must remember I told you my stance regarding the Shrine's alliance a moment ago, right? Lin Feng asked that person. I remember, that person nodded. What they think about us is the same we think about them. We want to either absorb them or destroy them. The shrines are at the top of the continent of the Nine Clouds at the moment. Some shrines have disappeared, so they can't let anyone else threaten them anymore. Therefore, no matter what, we don't care about principles. We need to change the meeting by all means. The meeting must take place in Tianshui City, said Lin Feng firmly. He sounded firm, and made the crowd shake. They all considered their alliances weaker than the shrines, but now Divine Wrath was making them feel even more confident. There's a big difference between now and last time. Even though we should be happy because they think more highly of us now, we can't forget how the Soul Shrine has been destroyed and wiped off the map of the continent of the Nine Clouds, said Lin Feng. The crowd frowned. They knew that the shrines thought highly of them in terms of strength. But Lin Feng was right. The Shrine's alliance could do the same thing to them. So what should we do? One of them asked Lin Feng. In 3 days, we'll spread the news as quickly as possible. We'll inform everybody in the continent of the Nine Clouds. At the same time, if the Fire Shrine's alliance doesn't come in 3 days, we'll cancel the meeting, said Lin Feng. His eyes twinkled. Everybody frowned. Since the Fortune Shrine's members were everywhere in the continent of the Nine Clouds, they would probably know about that before everyone else. They would probably send strong cultivators to Tianshui City. That would make things difficult for the Fire Shrine. The best decision for them would be to not send all their strongest cultivators to Tianshui City to oppress the alliances. Otherwise, the Fortune Shrine would be able to send people to the Shrine Alliance's shrines to destroy them. Therefore, the Fire Shrine had to keep half of their strong cultivators somewhere as a protective measure. The 3 great alliances would be able to take measures too. Let's do that then, said Saintly Emperor Shi the Demon calmly. It's a good plan, agreed Zijou as well. After coming up with a plan, the news quickly spread in the continent of the Nine Clouds. The inhabitants of the continent of the Nine Clouds quickly learned that 3 great alliances had been formed. 3 days passed quickly. There were huge snowflakes in the sky of Tianshui City. The snow on the ground was thick. Many people appeared there, forming 3 groups. However, they didn't stay far away from each other's. In front of them, another group of people appeared, oppressing the atmosphere there. The leader of that group was the Empty Space Shrine's leader. The Empty Space Shrine's leader has the celestial ceiling map. He came to the meeting as the leader. It means everything, deduced the crowd. They were independent cultivators. Independent cultivators would definitely lose against the Shrine's alliance in one-on-ones. Even Saintly Emperor Shi the Demon and Zijou, who were very strong, couldn't compete with the Shrine's leaders. The Shrine's leaders were just terrifying, and they had terrifying saints' weapons. Apart from that, each shrine had a few other terrifying saints' weapons, which their Peerless saints controlled. Apart from the Empty Space Shrine's leader, Another shrine's leader appeared. The Thunder Shrine's leader. The Thunder Shrine's leader had no choice but to join the Shrine's alliance after the destruction of the Soul Shrine. The Fire Shrine's alliance didn't allow them to stand by and watch. They had to help and get involved, or they would be destroyed. Brother Lei, I've heard that one of our opponents is called Divine Wrath. Have you ever heard of him? The Empty Space Shrine's leader asked the Thunder Shrine's leader icily. He had heard about what had happened 3 days before, and he wasn't happy. He already hated Divine Wrath, and knew he was arrogant. Only that he's just too arrogant, said the Thunder Shrine's leader, bathing in purple lightning. He looked dignified and majestic. Everybody, why did you want to meet? Asked Zizhu indifferently. The Seven Shrines Alliance is recruiting the most outstanding cultivators of the continent of the 9 clouds, said the Thunder Shrine's leader in a dignified and majestic way, glancing at the crowd. Do you know who we are? Said Saintly Emperor Shi the Demon indifferently. That guy wanted to recruit their people. The continent of the 9 clouds is a state of chaos. Many people want to fish in troubled waters. However, the shrines are powerful. Nobody can compete with us. The Seven Shrines Alliance can control the whole world. People who don't respect us will die like the Soul Shrine. Most people have learned from the Soul Shrine's past mistakes, said the Thunder Shrine's leader. Many people suddenly felt some fear when they remembered that. All right, if you came to tell us bullshit, you can leave, said Lin Feng calmly. The Thunder Shrine's leader looked at him. His eyes were filled with lightning as he said, Don't be wildly ambitious. Don't think those people will become your puppets. I don't think those people next to you want to die. Do you think a feudal group such as the Divine Wrath Alliance could compete with several shrines? Do you think a group like the Divine Wrath Alliance could rule over the continent of the 9 clouds? If you didn't come to make things change in the world, why did you, the Empty Space Shrine's leader and the Thunder Shrine's leader, come here? Lin Feng said calmly, joining the Shrine's alliance? Ridiculous. You just want us to become cannon fodder, so that the Fortune Shrine's members kill us when they see us? I also want to tell you something. It's the end of this meeting. If you want to fight, let's fight. If you want to talk shit, you can leave, said Lin Feng coldly. What an insolent little boy, said the Empty Space Shrine's leader icily. He raised his hand, and the celestial ceiling map emerged from the palm of his hand, and suddenly rose up in the air. Dazzling lights sealed the territory. Lin Feng heard a sound behind him. Some people were terrified. The Empty Space Shrine's leader was using the celestial ceiling map already. Apologize for what you just said the Empty Space Shrine's leader coldly. At the same time, the Thunder Shrine's leader took out a hammer. That hammer contained lightning, which surrounded his body. The Thunder Shrine's leader immediately took out the precious item of the Thunder Shrine, the godly celestial thunder hammer. According to legends, one strike can destroy a whole world. It's a powerful weapon. The 2 shrines' leaders came with their most precious weapons. Faces stiffened, and the atmosphere became oppressive. The 2 leaders were threatening Lin Feng. Would Lin Feng apologize though? Lights flashed, and a long spear appeared in Lin Feng's hand. It was extremely strange, as it was shorter than a long spear, and it contained sword qi. Lin Feng slowly rose up into the air. He stuck the tip of the spear in the snow. An incredible qi emerged and the ground cracked open. A valley appeared under the spear. Lin Feng looked at them calmly and said, If you want to attack, that would be an honor and a pleasure. Chapters 2479. The spear Lin Feng had taken out was naturally the god sword Feng Imo had made for him. The godly weapon master had needed 381 days to make that weapon. The god sword was much more powerful than before, and it contained illusion strength, so it could transform into a sword or a halberd. Lin Feng had already used the god sword in the past, so it was better not to take it out. That's why he had taken it out as a spear. The only difference was that it was much stronger than before. The strong cultivators of the Divine Wrath Alliance looked at Lin Feng's back. Their hearts were shaking. Divine Wrath wasn't scared in front of the shrine's leaders. His qi was incredible. As he had said, he was ready to punish his enemies. The Thunder Shrine's leader looked at Lin Feng and remained silent. Lightning dazzled and dashed to the skies. The hammer in his hand was shaking. Since you want to die, why do you need so many friends? said the Thunder Shrine's leader icily. You want to die? Why do you need the whole Thunder Shrine to die with you? Replied Lin Feng calmly. So let's see how strong you are. And what makes you feel so confident to the extent that you call yourself Divine Wrath? Said the Thunder Shrine's leader. Thunder rumbled as lightning snaked all around. It was like the sky was about to collapse. Many people in Tianshui City raised their heads and looked at the sky. Nobody dared get close, and they withdrew hastily. The Thunder Shrine's leader walked forwards. Saintly Emperor Shi the Demon and Zizhu also came out. They had promised to help the other alliances if the shrines attacked. The shrines are proud and arrogant for no reason, said Saintly Emperor Shi the Demon. A peerless demon halberd appeared in his hand, similar to Lin Feng's great demon halberd of desolation. It contained a terrifying amount of demon energy, and was even more aggressive than Lin Feng's great demon halberd of desolation. Saintly Emperor Shi the Demon had killed a great many people with it. Many people's souls shook when they saw it. Zizhu walked forwards and smiled. Let's exchange views on cultivation. I've always been curious to see how strong the shrines were. How strong can they be after the war of the ancient days? The three people looked incredible, like real leaders. When the empty space shrine's leader saw that, he also walked forwards. The crowd was awed, their hearts pounding. Those people weren't playing. The previous time, the fire shrine didn't know about Saintly Emperor Shi the Demon and Zizhu, and they spent more time trying to find people from the Fortune Shrine's alliance. They didn't attach enough importance to Saintly Emperor Shi the Demon and Zizhu's alliance. But now they were getting involved personally, which meant they attached importance to them. And they had even brought their most powerful weapons, the Celestial Sealing Map, and the Godly Celestial Thunder Hammer, which meant they wanted to be certain to win. That way, they'd influence the whole situation of the continent of the Nine Clouds. If they managed to kill Divine Wrath, Zizhu, and Saintly Emperor Shi, everything would be fine, especially since their alliances were not stable enough. After winning, they'd recruit or kill the members of the three alliances, and the Fortune Shrine wouldn't be able to do much about it. Let's be fair. Make someone else come out to fight against us three, said Saintly Emperor Shi the Demon indifferently, while releasing a peerless chi from his demon halberd. People around found him scary at first glance. 2 people are enough to kill you 3, said the Thunder Shrine's leader coldly. He seemed aggressive and domineering. They were both Shrine's leaders, and they both had Saint's weapons. How could they lose? The Empty Space Shrine's leader and the Thunder Shrine's leader glanced at each other and nodded. Everybody move back, said the Thunder Shrine's leader indifferently. Divine Wrath Alliance, Chaotic Sky Alliance, Black Bamboo Alliance members, move back all of you, said Lin Feng as well. Everybody retreated. At the same time, they condensed strength and got ready to fight. Such battles were terrifying, and energies could spill over and kill people in the surroundings. In the blink of an eye, they had all moved back. The great battle was on the verge of breaking out. Empty space free, shouted the Empty Space Shrine's leader. The atmosphere condensed and became frozen. Lin Feng, Saintly Emperor Shi the Demon, and Zizhu had the impression they couldn't move anymore. The Thunder Shrine's leader smiled icily. His eyes were filled with murder. The godly celestial thunder hammer bombarded the atmosphere. Time freeze, said Zizhu at that moment. Suddenly it was like if time had stopped. Everything became extremely slow. People were stunned. One strong cultivator could freeze space, another one could freeze time. Both were incredible powers. Zizhu could freeze time. When space was frozen, at least it could be broken. But when time was frozen, cultivators couldn't do anything unless their understanding of time strength was more advanced. The Thunder Shrine's leader moved extremely slowly. It was as if he were underwater. Break! Shouted the Thunder Shrine's leader explosively. 9 celestial lightnings condensed around him. He was surrounded by lightning. The earth and the sky shook violently. He raised a fist filled with lightning and made an overhand punch. Absorbing strength emerged from Lin Feng's spear. It shone out as he moved freely. The spear destroyed the lightning bolts one after another. Or more precisely, it absorbed them easily. How fast? He's faster than a peerless cultivator. They gasped when they saw Lin Feng. At that moment, in Lin Feng's space, Time passed a dozen times faster than in the outside world. When lightning bolts took 1 second to appear, Lin Feng had a dozen seconds to react. But other people couldn't sense anything. Only Zijou. Demon dragons emerged from Saintly Emperor. She the demon's halberd and roared angrily. The sound waves caused by their roars collided with the lightning bolts and destroyed them. Those supreme weapons are terrifying. The godly celestial thunder hammer is terrifying. Each bolt contains a mysterious strength. Even peerless saints could be killed if those thunderbolts reached them. However, the cultivators of the three great alliances are incredibly strong. They can destroy the lightning. Those watching sighed. The empty space shrine's leader disappeared. After a few milliseconds, he reappeared in front of Zijou. The space around Zijou froze. "Seal!" shouted the empty space shrine's leader icily. Zijou had the impression something was constricting his body. He could barely move. "Zijou." Lin Feng was nervous. "Go and destroy that stupid thunder old man," said Zijou indifferently. The crowd was amused. Stupid thunder old man? When the Thunder Shrine's leader heard that, he looked furious. Lightning flashed around him. At the same time, Zijou made time around him stop. If his enemy wanted to freeze him, Zijou wanted to make him stop. "Break," said the empty space shrine, throwing out his fist. The empty space shrine's leader was extremely slow though. Even though he was very strong, he seemed much slower. It made the crowd shiver. Knowing it meant that Zijou was and his allies were terrifyingly strong. The Black Bamboo Alliance's leader almost made the empty space shrine's leader stop moving. Maybe he's using a technique with 3 original strengths. If his opponent was an ordinary peerless saint, and not a shrine leader, he might have killed him in the blink of an eye, a peerless saint mused. Zijou slowed the empty space shrine's leader down. He was almost motionless. His attacks were much slower too. He threw his fist out, and snowflakes scattered around them. The space around them was ice cold. At the same time, Saintly Emperor Shi the demon and Lin Feng slowly walked forwards. They both had weapons. Their enemy was the Thunder Shrine's leader, who bore the godly celestial thunder hammer. Chapters 2480. The Thunder Shrine's leader looked furious. Saintly Emperor Shi the demon and Lin Feng were advancing towards him. 9 godly celestial lightnings dazzled around him. "Even if you both attack me, it's useless." Lightning with snake shapes appeared all around him, and lashed out towards Saintly Emperor, Shi the demon and Lin Feng. "Leader, I'll help you," said a peerless saint, running towards Lin Feng. That way, the Thunder Shrine's leader would just fight against Saintly Emperor Shi the demon. Back in the days, Saintly Emperor Shi the demon and Zijou had both become famous, so people considered Zijou and Saintly Emperor Shi the demon extremely strong. Therefore, that peerless saint decided to fight against Lin Feng, and leave Saintly Emperor Shi the demon to the Thunder Shrine's leader. Lin Feng looked at the peerless saint calmly, and smiled evilly. He shook his spear, and lights flashed. "Die!" Millions of thunderbolts crackled and roared. Lin Feng could sense the atmosphere shake violently around him. Earth strength surrounded him. The earth strength exploded and lightning raged towards Lin Feng. At the same time, a heavy strength oppressed Lin Feng. He had the impression a mountain range had fallen onto him. Earth original strength, thought Lin Feng. His enemy also understood Earth original strength. Lin Feng continued walking forwards and time lights surrounded him. Light balls which looked like magnificent flowers kept emerging from Lin Feng's spear. The flowers destroyed the lightning. The peerless saint was surprised. Lin Feng was supposed to be stuck, but he looked so relaxed. Each of his spear attacks were as fast as lightning. Initially, it seemed like Lin Feng's attacks had reached their maximum speed, but with the time lights, they were even faster. The Thunder Shrine's peerless saint didn't change his mind because of Lin Feng's speed. He continued advancing as fast as he could. He threw out a fist which contained lightning energy. In front of him, 5 lightning bolts appeared. "Die!" The 5 thunderbolts crashed towards Lin Feng. When they appeared in front of him, the crowd was convinced he was doomed. What a powerful attack. Lin Feng's spear flew away. The crowd didn't understand, because the spear didn't move towards the 5 lightning bolts. Lin Feng let the 5 bolts penetrate into his body, thunder cracking loudly. Destructive lights surrounded Lin Feng. and a strong wind started blowing as the space became desolated. The Divine Wrath Alliance's leader is dead? The crowd frowned. However, at that moment lights twinkled. Millions of tablets appeared and turned into Lin Feng. He reappeared beside the spear he had thrown aside. He immediately grabbed it back. Phew! I almost forgot his body is almost indestructible. The attack didn't destroy him a moment ago. How terrifying. But how did he create such a spell? Divine Wrath is amazing. Lin Feng's attack reached the Peerless Saint. The man's expression changed drastically. He couldn't believe it. His 5 Lightnings attack was incredible, fast and powerful. Even if the Thunder Shrine's leader was struck by that attack, he would have died. How come Divine Wrath was still alive? But he didn't have much time to think. He had to dodge. Lin Feng's attack was a beautiful saint's technique. It was incredibly fast, as he used time strength in it. The Thunder Shrine's strong cultivator wanted to resist, but there was a crackling sound, and he didn't have time to condense energies. The spear pierced through his head. Lin Feng didn't use spear strength, he mainly relied on speed. A terrifying strength went through the man, and the cultivator's body exploded. His soul dispersed and he was dead. The crowd was astonished, staring blankly at them. A peerless saint had just died in battle. Peerless saints were extraordinary beings. They were precious even for shrines. When one of their peerless saints died, it had a significant impact on their organization. Peerless saints were at the core of shrines. The previous time they had met, Saintly Emperor Shi the Demon and Zizhu had won 2 out of 3 battles. This time, Zizhu fought against the Empty Space Shrine's leader. Saintly Emperor Shi the Demon fought against the Thunder Shrine's leader, and Divine Wrath killed a peerless saint in one strike. Die! The Thunder Shrine's leader shouted furiously. Lightning descended from the sky towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng continued releasing time strength. At the same time, he continued attacking the bolts with his spear. The atmosphere undulated around him. At that moment, the Empty Space Shrine and the Thunder Shrine's peerless cultivators moved forwards. They initially thought that the shrine's leaders were enough to resist against their enemies, but they were wrong. A peerless cultivator had even been killed. Saintly Emperor Shi the Demon is strong, and he has the demon halberd. It's a terrifying weapon. The crowd sighed. When the peerless saints of the shrines moved forwards, the peerless saints of the 3 great alliances also flashed forwards. Strength rolled all around them, a perfect storm of conflicting energies. Piss off! Shouted the Thunder Shrine's leader. He threw his hammer at Saintly Emperor Shi the Demon. A terrifying godly thunderbolt streaked across the sky. He wanted to destroy Saintly Emperor Shi the Demon. Saintly Emperor Shi the Demon was holding his halberd. Demon lights surrounded the area. At the same time, there were multiple explosions and energies bombarded the godly thunderbolt. Even though the lightning didn't get destroyed, at least it was stopped. The Empty Space Shrine's leader noticed that something was wrong. He stretched out his hand, and an empty space map shot towards Zizhu. Lights flared. Zizhu and 2 other peerless saints were suddenly sealed in a small space. The celestial sealing map could be used to seal a whole space, and he had sealed the whole area to look dignified and majestic. Now, he realized he had to have a real strategy, because Zizhu was also extremely strong. So he decided to seal him. It seems like the shrines need to suffer a little bit, Lin Feng said with an evil smile. I told you the shrine's goal is either to make us submit to them and use us as slaves, or to kill us. I hadn't thought it would happen so fast. So from now on, when the Divine Wrath Alliance sees anyone from the Shrine's Alliance, kill them. Chaotic Sky Alliance, I give you the same order, said Saintly Emperor Shi the Demon icily. Black Bamboo Alliance, same order, shouted Zizhu. He was stuck in the celestial sealing map. The battle was terrifying. Only peerless saints could participate. The Empty Space Shrine and the Thunder Shrine's leaders' hearts twitched. They hadn't thought the 3 great alliances would be this powerful. The Empty Space Shrine's leader walked forwards and suddenly disappeared. He reappeared in the central battlefield and shouted furiously, "Empty space, condense!" Everything became rigid. The strong cultivators of the great alliances had the impression they were stuck in moving sands. Die! The members of the shrines attacked, but at the same time, a peerless sharp chi filled the air. The empty space shrine's leader looked nervous. Lin Feng shot towards him without effort. Raising his spear as a cage appeared around the empty space shrine's leader. Insolent. The empty space shrine's leader hadn't thought that other than Zizhu, someone else would dare attack him alone, especially with the intention to kill him. Freeze! Lin Feng had the impression the atmosphere was becoming thicker around him. You want to die? Said the empty space shrine's leader, throwing his hand at him. I can't use too many attacks in front of him, otherwise he'll understand who I am, thought Lin Feng. This body's main strength was that he could disintegrate and then condense again. Actually, it was just an illusion he had created, but at least that way people thought he was immortal. On the other hand, Lin Feng had to find a solution, because if his enemies came to the conclusion that he had no other way to attack, he would be in a critical situation. Chapter 2481. The empty space shrine's leader's attack crushed the whole space around them. His attack moved closer and closer to Lin Feng. Time, said Lin Feng. Time passed faster around his body and slower in the outside world. At the same time, he used the spear to protect his body. It turned into a vortex which absorbed everything around him. All the lights generated by the attacks around him were absorbed. The empty space shrine's leader was taken aback when he saw that Lin Feng could absorb attacks so easily. He took a step forwards and threw out his hands. Lin Feng had the impression that the space around him was becoming isolated and moving away from the world. Lin Feng sensed that the space around him was being drawn towards the empty space shrine's leader. What kind of attack is that? Lin Feng frowned. He didn't understand. The empty space shrine's leader was truly strong. The empty space shrine's leader walked forwards. He looked furious. His eyes were filled with killing intent. To him, Lin Feng was doomed. Destroy, he said icily. The space around him undulated. It was on the verge of exploding. Lin Feng threw himself at the empty space shrine's leader. The empty space shrine's leader was surprised. His face stiffened. His expression was really funny to see. He was asking himself, how can that guy cross an empty space I created? A mysterious strength surrounded him. He sensed something and saw the spear driving towards him, thrusting at his head. Empty space lights flashed. He could sense he was moving much slower, and he frowned in consternation. The ground trembled. A strength struck his body. To his astonishment, Divine Wrath, who had just shown up and wasn't known before, had proven he could compete with him. Piss off. The space around the empty space shrine's leader changed slightly. Lin Feng's spear passed next to his head. The empty space shrine's leader disappeared. He reappeared somewhere else, staring at Lin Feng in fury. Lin Feng flew forwards. He stood proudly in front of the strong cultivators of the three great alliances. The battles around them were fierce and tragic. Both sides had lost Peerless saints. 3 Peerless saints had already been killed. It was an incredible thing in the continent of the 9 clouds. Go, said the empty space shrine's leader. The strong cultivators of the empty space shrine and the thunder shrine fled. They had fewer cultivators on their side than the 3 great alliances this time. They had relied on their leaders and their ultimate weapons to oppress those independent cultivators, but hadn't thought the independents would be so strong. The Thunder Shrine's leader was extremely powerful, but Saintly Emperor Shi the demon was so strong, so the Thunder Shrine's leader couldn't kill him. Even though the Empty Space Shrine's leader could seal the space with the Celestial Sealing Map, he couldn't kill Zizhu and Divine Wrath, even if he sealed them. They were at a dead end. Do you think you can go? Said Lin Feng icily. He suddenly released Time's strength to move faster and attack someone who was moving away. That person sensed a strange and mysterious strength surround him. He turned around and saw a spear shooting towards him. Freeze! After the Empty Space Shrine took the Celestial Sealing Map away, Zizhu froze time. Many people stopped moving in front of Lin Feng. He could easily kill them with his spear. A vortex made of absorbing strength appeared around the spear, and the spear absorbed their vitality and intent. Bodies exploded and souls dispersed, one after another. Remember me! Shouted the Empty Space Shrine's leader explosively. However, Zizhu just laughed and shot back. You came to kill us and now you're running away, and your people are getting killed. And now you still dare get angry in front of us? The Thunder Shrine's leader stood in the sky, holding his thunder hammer. He raised it, thunder rumbled out, and lightning descended from the sky. "Back!" shouted Zizhu. Lin Feng and Saintly Emperor Shi the demon shot forwards. The Thunder Shrine's leader was surprised at their resolve, and followed those who were running away. "I'm sure we'll meet again." Lin Feng's spear attacked the lightning bolts. He watched those people running away icily. They had still killed 3 Peerless Saints. It was an achievement. Some people were struck by lightning, and lost arms and legs. They were amazed by the power of those ultimate weapons. But their 3 great alliances had still lost less people than the shrines. "Wah!" someone shouted excitedly. They had made 2 shrines' leaders run away, even with their ultimate weapons. "After what happened today, we'll see if they dare attack us again," said someone happily. Everybody would soon know about this throughout the imperial court of the continent of the 9 clouds, and would probably be amazed. "If we continue collaborating, we'll be as strong as the shrines, and at the top of the continent of the 9 clouds," Zizhu smiled. Then he looked at the crowd and said, "Tianshui City is the place where we became famous. The 3 great alliances could settle here. What do you think?" "No," said Lin Feng instantly. Zizhu looked at Lin Feng and smiled. "Divine Wrath, what do you suggest? This battle will shake the whole continent. But it's not enough. The Empty Space Shrines Alliance isn't only made of 2 shrines. If we settle in Tianshui City, the 7 shrines will come and attack us here, and we'll be destroyed instantly," said Lin Feng. "Indeed, Divine Wrath. So, what do you think we should do?" Zizhu asked with a smile. They had seen how Lin Feng was during the battle. "We must take the initiative to attack the 7 Shrines Alliance. We must make them suffer significant losses. They lost 3 Peerless Saints this time. It's not bad already. If we continue and keep up the good work, then we'll stand at the top of the continent of the 9 clouds, and we'll be able to control it," said Lin Feng with a hard smile. The 7 shrines formed the Iron Alliance. They are all connected by teleportation portals. "We can't go there and attack them directly," said Zizhu. He was curious. "If we can contact the Fortune Shrines Alliance and join hands with them, we could attack them once," said Lin Feng. Everybody could imagine. The Fortune Shrines Alliance was made of 4 groups. The 3 great alliances was made of 3 groups. They didn't know how strong the Fortune Shrines Alliance was, but the 3 great alliances were stronger than 3 shrines. Right now the biggest problem was to fight against the 7 shrines, because they all had ultimate weapons. Otherwise, killing entire groups in the shrines would be something easy for them. "We need to think and plan," said someone. "Yes, indeed, it's not a small thing," Lin Feng agreed. "Let's stay in Tianshui City for now. At the same time, have the news spread so that the Fortune Shrines Alliance hears about us." "All right, let's go," everybody agreed, and quickly dispersed. They were all happy. The battle had been perfect for them. The news quickly spread throughout the continent of the 9 clouds, and people were astonished. 3 groups of independent cultivators were rising in the imperial court of the continent of the 9 clouds. The battles in that chaotic world were getting more and more astounding. Everybody was curious to see how the situation would end up. Would things end up like back in the past? Chapter 2482 The Imperial Court of the Continent of the 9 Clouds. The Divine Wrath Alliance, the Chaotic Sky Alliance, and the Black Bamboo Alliance had become famous. It was still snowing in Tianshui City. Lin Feng was standing there with his hands clasped behind his back. Behind him, someone arrived carefully. It was Saintly Emperor Shi the Demon. Saintly Emperor Shi the Demon left footprints behind him in the snow. He walked up next to Lin Feng and gazed into the distance. "You want to use the strength of the 3 great alliances to destroy the Shrines Alliance?" asked Saintly Emperor Shi the Demon calmly. "Lin Feng, I support you." Lin Feng frowned and slowly turned to look at him. He didn't look indifferent anymore. He was convinced that with his strength, nobody could recognize him anymore. However, that old demon emperor seemed to know who he was. The first person who had told Lin Feng about Saintly Emperor Shi the Demon was the diviner. Back in the days, there was a demon cultivator, whom some people called the Demon Emperor. He used to wander around in the continent of the 9 clouds. Lin Feng had heard about the Demon Emperor many times. Lin Feng also remembered Yuan Fei in the Small World, the place where the Demon Emperor was once from used to be called the Mountain of Flowers and Fruit. He also remembered the words he had read in the Jade Emperor's palace. Apart from that, Lin Feng had also seen an image of the Demon Emperor on the Heavenly Grace Ancient Tree, and he had seen many of his images in the Supreme Ancient Pit of Hell as well. Lin Feng had thought those were only coincidences. The Sky Palace, what was the date tonight? Surprised, the Demon Emperor looked at Lin Feng, smiled and said, "In the Supreme Ancient Pit of Hell, you heard my voice. I am your image, your shadow. You used to be a demon king in the ancient past. Only your own determination can make you understand those things. On the day when you do understand, you'll become the Peerless Demon King. You'll defy the skies. Blood will spill unceasingly in the continent of the 9 clouds. And you will be the strongest cultivator in the world." Supreme Ancient Pit of Hell, so it's really you. Lin Feng frowned. Of course. You think that with your strength back then, you could have left the Supreme Ancient Pit of Hell. It's your karma. You are the forbidden person. You have a forbidden body. I was earlier than you by 1,000 years, he and she. That's our karma, my karma, your karma. I am you, you are me. We are one, said the saintly Emperor Shi the demon solemnly. Karma? Lin Feng remained silent. Did karma really exist? Does the handsome Monkey King believe in karma? Lin Feng slowly turned his head again and gazed into the distance. Saintly Emperor Shi the demon didn't say anything. Lin Feng frowned. Saintly Emperor Shi the demon remained silent. Lin Feng looked at him again and frowned. You want to rely on the great alliances to destroy the shrines? I'll help you, said Saintly Emperor Shi the demon smiling. Lin Feng smiled and replied, Thank you very much. Saintly Emperor Shi the demon turned around and walked away. Lin Feng watched him go. He had cold sweat down his back. In the Jade Emperor's palace, he had read, Limitless Sky Palace, what's the date tonight? Then he also remembered the name of that mountain, the Mountain of Flowers and Fruit. Everything seemed to be pointing at one thing, the incredible Demon Emperor, and he seemed to come from the same place. However, a moment before, he mentioned the handsome Monkey King, and the Demon Emperor changed the topic. Lin Feng found everything quite mysterious. Someone else came to him. It wasn't Saintly Emperor Shi the demon this time. It was Zijou. Lin Feng smiled at him in greeting. Zijou could compete with the Empty Space Shrine's leader. He was extremely strong. Any ideas? Asked Zijou smiling at Lin Feng. I contacted some strong cultivators, and attacking the Fire Shrine would be a good idea, said Lin Feng smiling. Is our target only the Fire Shrine's alliance? What about the Fortune Shrine's alliance? Continued Zijou. Nowadays, the Fire Shrine's alliance is strong. They won't try to oppress us again. Regarding the Fortune Shrine's alliance, I don't think they would do anything to us. They're not stupid, said Lin Feng slowly. Zijou smiled meaningfully. Lin Feng, I support you, said Zijou. Then he also turned around and left. Lin Feng looked at Zijou. He had a strange feeling. He had used a new identity to become the leader of the Divine Wrath Alliance. And now Saintly Emperor Shi the demon had recognized him. Lin Feng was really convinced that the Demon Emperor was his image, otherwise he wouldn't have recognized him. But what about Zijou? And what was that smile supposed to mean? What did he know? But Lin Feng didn't think about it too much. He wanted to destroy the Fire Shrine and their allies first. After that battle, the continent of the 9 clouds became quite calm again. However, people from the continent of the 9 clouds could imagine how furious the Empty Space Shrine and the Thunder Shrine were. Together, in total they had 12 Peerless Saints, and now they had lost 3. Now they were less powerful. However, even then the 7 shrines didn't go to Tianshui City to get their revenge. The Divine Wrath Alliance, the Chaotic Sky Alliance, and the Black Bamboo Alliance protected that place, and the Fortune Shrine's Alliance probably knew that as well. If anyone was watching Tianshui City, they would be able to inform the Fortune Shrine's Alliance if anyone came to attack, and they would come to help the 3 great alliances. The Fortune Shrine's Alliance didn't want to miss any opportunity. The 7 shrines needed to protect themselves from the Fortune Shrines Alliance no matter what, because many years ago, they had decided to disappear and continue the war until its end. In Linfeng's star world, Linfeng looked at the high-level saints and smiled. Back in the days, I promised that I'd fight against you if I were a high-level saint, and that if you defeated me, I'd release you. However, my cultivation level is different from other people's cultivation level. For me, high-level saint means nothing, it doesn't exist. But I have to do what I promised you. Actually, I want you to help me one last time, and then I'll release you, said Linfeng. He was the master of this world, so he controlled their freedom. He could let them leave or not. Only the old ox had privileges in that world. When the golden ape heard Linfeng, he smiled and said, Linfeng, you're wrong. I'm wrong. Linfeng looked at him sharply. Do you really think I'm stuck here and can't leave? The golden ape laughed. When our master left, he wanted us to leave, but we didn't want to. We still wanted to wait for him. We hadn't thought you'd come instead and become the new leader. Besides, you were much weaker than us. You think you could give us orders? Of course not, replied Linfeng. But now you can. The golden ape smiled. No matter what you want us to do, we'll help you. Linfeng looked at the golden ape's smile and smiled broadly too. I will become the strongest cultivator in the continent of the 9 clouds. I will honor your former master. We can't wait, the last bestial saint smiled. Linfeng nodded and left. After that, he appeared in front of the 3 peerless bestial saints. They opened their eyes and looked at Linfeng. Should we go to war in the continent of the 9 clouds? Asked the peerless bestial saint, who had helped Linfeng the previous time. He was smiling as he guessed Linfeng needed help. Yes, it's a crucial battle. It could change everything in the continent of the 9 clouds, said Linfeng straightforwardly. The bestial saint smiled. If you need us, just ask. When Linfeng heard him, he smiled back. He hadn't gone there for such a long time. He hadn't thought that all the bestial saints who used to be cold to him would have become so nice and helpful. He was touched. Thank you very much, Linfeng bowed. And then he left. He reappeared in front of a treasure building. He hadn't opened the last door yet. Linfeng didn't know when the old ox had appeared behind him. But at that moment, he was there and looking at him. Linfeng smiled and said, Thank you, old ox. Then he tapped the old ox's horn. You're getting more and more audacious, said the old ox angrily. Hee. Linfeng laughed. Brother ox, all the bestial saints are so nice to me. It's all thanks to you, right? Kind of, said the old ox, not admitting anything. Go inside and have a look. All right. Linfeng nodded. He put his hand on the door. Strength suddenly filled the air and rolled out in waves. The door began to glow brightly. Crackling sounds spread in the air. Linfeng could sense the strength of a peerless saint. He slowly opened the door and entered the palace. He shivered. There were peerless saints' weapons everywhere. There were around 80 weapons, their spirits terrifying. Even a shrine couldn't have so many peerless saints' weapons. Those saints' weapons are terrifyingly powerful, he murmured. Unfortunately, he didn't know many peerless saints he could trust. Otherwise, if he had been able to give them to other peerless saints and form an army of 80, that would have been terrifying. They would have been able to destroy the whole world. Chapter 2483 Tianshui City was a calm and peaceful city. The 7 shrines didn't come to get their revenge, which actually made the crowd have bad premonitions. The strong cultivators of the 3 great alliances suddenly left the city. Were they trying to deceive the observers? On the same day, the leaders of the 7 Shrines Alliance gathered in the Fire Shrine. I received some news. The 3 great alliances and the Fortune Shrine are going to divide into 2 influential groups, and they will attack 2 of our shrines. They want to make things difficult for us. That way we won't be able to protect ourselves, said the Fire Shrine's leader. Everybody already knew that, so they remained composed. Do you know which shrines they intend to attack? They're not sure yet, and I am not even sure whether it is really true or not, answered the Fire Shrine's leader. Everybody frowned. But I'm sure that they will come. The 3 great alliances left Tianshui City during the night. Oh, what should we do? Asked the Thunder Shrine's leader coldly. He was still furious. The previous time, everybody had heard about what had happened to the Thunder Shrine and the Empty Space Shrine and their humiliation. "We can surround and destroy one of them," said the Fire Shrine's leader. "Kill which one?" "Initially, they were a bunch of independent cultivators. We need to destroy them, and I've heard that Lin Feng is with them." Everybody frowned. They hadn't heard of Lin Feng for 500 years. They were all worried because they all thought he would become extremely strong, and someday he'd destroy them. After all, each time Lin Feng showed up, he was much stronger, progressing extremely quickly. Everybody was convinced he had the potential to become a cultivation god. "Lin Feng, how's that possible? Why would he be in the Independent Cultivators Alliance?" asked the Empty Space Shrine's leader, curious. "From what I heard, he didn't only show up, he also fought against you," said the Fire Shrine's leader, staring at the Empty Space Shrine's leader. "Impossible. I have the void-breaking vision. I can see through all things. Someone of my level can't escape from the void-breaking vision." The leader of the Divine Wrath Alliance, Divine Wrath, "What do you think?" asked the Fire Shrine's leader. The Empty Space Shrine's leader frowned. He raised his head and looked at the Fire Shrine's leader sharply. "How is that possible? How could he have become that strong?" "Nothing is impossible. That's the reason why I want us to use our full strength to get rid of them. The Fortune Shrine and the Independent Cultivators Alliance want us to feel overwhelmed. They want to move faster than us. Let's learn from them. If it's not true, then we'll just have wasted some time. If it is true, then we can't miss this opportunity," said the Fire Shrine's leader calmly. Everybody remained silent. If their enemies really attacked by surprise and in two groups, it would be difficult for them. The best thing to do was to gather and have a big battle. Lin Feng couldn't know what was going on in the Fire Shrine. He didn't even know how the Fire Shrine knew who he was. Actually, if Lin Feng knew, he wouldn't even believe it. Finally, Lin Feng, the Fortune Shrine, and the others agreed to attack the Wind Shrine and the Dazzling Gold Shrine. The reason why they chose those two shrines was because they were close to each other. If Peerless Saints rushed over, they'd be there in a short time, so they'd use their own power. The other shrines used teleportation portals to cross the longer distances. But if people flew and didn't use teleportation portals, then things would be easier. Lin Feng and the others would have time to react. This time, their goal was to attack as quickly as possible. During the beginning of the attack, the shrines wouldn't know what to do. They'd be unstable. And during that time of instability, they'd have time to carry out a big attack. One strike had to be enough. If it was possible, then they'd also attack a second time by surprise. The three great alliances' target would be the Wind Shrine. The Fortune Shrine's alliance target would be the Dazzling Gold Shrine. Lin Feng was in contact with the Diviner and the Fortune Shrine's leader. At that moment, they had already arrived in the city where the Wind Shrine was. They didn't inspect the Wind Shrine with their godly awareness. It was too dangerous. They needed to do a blitz attack, so that the enemies wouldn't have time to react. "Why do I have a bad premonition?" thought Lin Feng. He had to be extremely vigilant. "Leader, teacher, are you ready?" Lin Feng asked the Fortune Shrine's leader, and the diviner using the Jade Talisman. "We're ready, but Lin Feng, I have a bad premonition," replied the Fortune Shrine's leader. "We have reached a point of no return. Let's get ready to attack." "We attack and then leave instantly," said Lin Feng. He then rose up in the air, his godly awareness rolling in waves above the Wind Shrine. Lin Feng was surprised. There weren't many people in the Wind Shrine. He didn't even notice any peerless cultivators. It can't be. Suddenly, Lin Feng noticed many strong cultivators apart from them. Many peerless saints. Boom! Silhouettes rose up in the air, and suddenly, there were extremely strong cultivators all around. The three great alliances' strong cultivators realized that apart from them, there were many terrifying cultivators there. It was as if all the members of the Shrine's alliance had been waiting for them there. They hadn't released their godly awareness until Lin Feng had released his own. "Lin Feng, there's absolutely nobody here. The shrine is empty," said a voice to Lin Feng telepathically. Lin Feng frowned. "Leader, there was an ambush here." "Wait for us, try to survive," said the Fortune Shrine's leader. At the same time, the empty space shrine's leader appeared in the sky, holding the celestial sealing map. Anyone who isn't from the three great alliances don't move. If you do anything, we'll kill you, said the empty space shrine's leader icily. He used the celestial sealing map. Terrifying cultivators appeared one after another. Lin Feng saw all the shrine's leaders. They were all holding their ultimate weapons, their eyes filled with killing intent. They really wanted to kill Lin Feng. Lin Feng, you turned into divine wrath and tried to obtain help from the three great alliances to help the Fortune Shrine fight against us. How long did you intend to lie to the three great alliances? Shouted the empty space shrine's leader. His eyes were twinkling. He had a special vision, but he still couldn't see through Lin Feng. And you morons! Lin Feng used you. Who wants to join my shrine's alliance now? You won't die if you join us, said the empty space shrine's leader icily. Don't let them ruin your determination. If it works, our three great alliances won't be able to withstand a single attack. Get ready to fight, said Zijou at that moment. Kill Lin Feng first, said a voice at that moment. A few people walked towards Lin Feng slowly. Lin Feng frowned. He was nervous. He was in danger. Who had sold him out? There were only Peerless saints here. Nobody knew about his agreement with the Fortune Shrine. But in any case, his enemies had been waiting for him here, and they knew who he was. How tragic. Lin Feng, you will die today, said the empty space shrine's leader, slowly walking towards Lin Feng. He wanted Lin Feng to admit who he was. Apart from the empty space shrine's leader, the Thunder Shrine's leader also walked towards Lin Feng, along with the dazzling Gold Shrine's leader. Three leaders could probably kill Lin Feng easily. This time, Lin Feng couldn't escape. Come and kill me, answered Lin Feng, suddenly withdrawing. He had to leave this place for the others to not to be in danger. A strong wind started blowing. Lin Feng flew upwards. You think you can escape? Sneered the empty space shrine's leader. Lin Feng took out his spear, which streaked across the sky. Dazzling lights flashed. Lin Feng moved and shouted, Everybody, the Fortune Shrine's alliance will be here soon. When they arrive, we'll be able to counterattack. We must hold on for now. His allies grit their teeth. They had no choice but to endure. Lin Feng moved towards the celestial sealing map. The empty space shrine's leader smiled icily. Did Lin Feng think he could leave? And then Lin Feng's spear pierced through the celestial sealing map, as if it wasn't there. The empty space shrine's leader was stunned and started shaking violently. Lin Feng punched through it and was outside. How is that possible? Shouted the empty space shrine's leader in disbelief. The two other shrine's leaders were astonished too. Hurry up and take the celestial sealing map away, shouted someone furiously. The empty space shrine's leader took the celestial sealing map away. They rose into the air and chased after Lin Feng. When they left, the empty space shrine's leader threw out the celestial sealing map again to seal the shrine again. But at the same time, Lin Feng attacked it again with his spear. He was playing with them. He's wasting time on purpose, said the empty space shrine's leader. He looked nervous. Lin Feng controlled time strength and was moving too fast. Zijou, shouted Lin Feng explosively. Zijou glanced at him and understood what he wanted. He also helped out. Chapter 2484. Zijou looked at Lin Feng, who was coming towards him. They converged on two Peerless saints and released time strength. Time freeze, shouted Zijou icily. The two Peerless saints stopped moving. Their time was frozen. When they noticed Lin Feng was attacking them, he only needed a microsecond to reach them. Fast, said Lin Feng. He increased his own speed. His spear pierced through a Peerless saint's head. When Zijou and Lin Feng cooperated, even Peerless saints seemed weak. As Lin Feng was about to kill the second one, a destructive lightning bolt descended from the sky. Lin Feng moved back and released more time strength. He moved so fast people could hear sonic booms, even among the blurs of movement on the battlefield. Great celestial seal freeze, said a voice icily. The sky became white, it looked frozen. Many strong cultivators died frozen. Crackling sounds spread in the air. Peerless saints were freezing. Die, said the dazzling Gold Shrine's leader. Throwing his sky-destroying sword and slicing into the cultivators sealed in the sky. Destructive golden lights slashed through the sky. Many peerless saints fell from the sky. Even though many people were frozen, they continued thinking of what to do next. The Seven Shrines Alliance have the advantage over the three great alliances, especially since they have some ultimate weapons, murmured some people, forgetting about the imminent danger. The seven shrines kept gaining ground and encircling the independent cultivators. A moment before, the sky had been frozen by the Ice and Snow Shrine's leader. He was holding an ultimate weapon. It was a door with dark frost on it. It was the freezing door of the Ice and Snow Shrine. He moved towards Lin Feng. The ice and frost strength around Lin Feng was dreadful. He had the impression he was going to freeze instantly. The Empty Space Shrine's leader and the Thunder Shrine's leader also charged him. "Back!" shouted someone, as cultivators appeared in front of Lin Feng. The three bestial saints. The old ox also appeared in another form. Lin Feng had asked them to intervene at a crucial moment, and they had accepted. At the same time, a peerless bestial saint didn't appear, instead taking the 9 high-level bestial saints to the fire shrine to destroy it. "Time," said the old ox, and time stopped. As expected, it's Lin Feng. The shrine's leaders were now convinced that divine wrath was Lin Feng. "Hurry up and kill Lin Feng," said the fire shrine's leader. The atmosphere was sealed. 9 celestial thunderbolts descended from the sky. The sky-destroying sword also flashed. The ice and frost door froze the space and grew to great size, oppressing everything. It looked like the apocalypse. "Time freeze!" shouted Zizhu furiously. Time stopped. The time's strength made Lin Feng and the others' movements limited, too. And the ultimate weapons didn't completely stop moving. Many people looked at them. Lin Feng's expression changed drastically. He was encircled by so many shrines' leaders and their ultimate weapons, who had sold him out. He felt like he was stuck. The old ox attacked the 9 celestial thunders. His attack looked ordinary, but it was incredibly powerful. Blood appeared on his arm. The 2 other bestial saints were also oppressed. Lin Feng was attacked. His body exploded, but it recondensed higher up in the sky once more. "He's not dead." The crowd was astonished. That attack hadn't killed Lin Feng. How strong! "He's using the great sky-deceiving illusion technique. No wonder I couldn't see through it." He probably understood several sorts of original strengths at the maximum level, including illusion original strength, and then fused them together. Then he modified it and created his own illusion technique. "We're not attacking his real body each time," swore the Empty Space Shrine's leader. The crowd was astonished. No wonder Lin Feng seemed immortal. He was using a special technique he had created. Continue killing. Even though they were slowed down, they didn't stop attacking. Lin Feng's illusory body appeared indistinctly. His perceptions were acute, as if time had really stopped. Wind, destructive energies, empty space, strength, time. An ice and frost energy surrounded Lin Feng. The ice and frost door moved towards him. A peerless bestial saint jumped into the ice and frost door and gradually disappeared. Lin Feng's face turned deathly pale. A peerless bestial saint had just died because of him. That wasn't the only peerless saint who had died for him actually. Many peerless saints had died or were dying. Lin Feng glanced around and thought, maybe I could really make time stop? "Time fast slow," whispered Lin Feng. The ice and frost door continued moving towards him. The Ice and Snow Shrine's leader smiled icily. "I can make time pass either slower or faster. But I haven't managed to understand fast and slow strengths at the maximum level, because they are antagonistic kinds of strengths. However, back in the days, I could understand life and death strengths, and make them fuse together. Why couldn't I do the same with fast and slow?" thought Lin Feng suddenly. God's strength. With God's strength, he was supposed to be able to control everything slow, fast, time. They all belonged to the same kind of thing. They were the origin. Lin Feng needed to understand the very source. In the world, everything has an opposite, so everything can be considered in relation to something. Fast can be opposed to slow. Something can be considered as fast if it is faster than something else. Slow is the same. But speed is relative to the speed at which time passes in the world itself. That is the source, and if the source is modified, then slow and fast can fuse together. A special kind of qi surrounded Lin Feng. It was as if some original strengths had been increasing and reached their maximum level, and then fused together. It was impossible to see or touch them. Lin Feng was studying. The ice and frost door was getting closer and closer. However, Lin Feng just looked at it, as fearless as if it were nothing special. When slow, fast, and time fuse together, then you modify the nature of time itself, it can stop, thought Lin Feng. Suddenly, the ice and frost door stopped in front of him. And it wasn't the only thing. It was as if the source of time had changed. Everything stopped all around him. Even Zizhu couldn't understand what was going on. Zizhu had fused 3 types of original strengths at the maximum level together: time, slow, and water. Which was why he could make things slow down, and then freeze them on top of that. So they moved even slower. Lin Feng's new technique surpassed Zizhu's. Lin Feng understood time better than Zizhu now. However, it only stopped for a few seconds, but it was enough. Lin Feng streaked across the sky and saved another Peerless Bestial Saint who was about to get killed. Phew! The Peerless Bestial Saint took a deep breath. He looked at Lin Feng. What had just happened? He didn't understand. The old ox also looked at Lin Feng and smiled. Lin Feng had managed to do something the old ox had never managed to do. Actually, the old ox understood several sorts of original strengths, but he only fused fast and time strengths together, as well as slow and time, and slow and fast. But he hadn't fused the 3 of them together. He had also fused other sorts of original strengths fused together to carry out powerful attacks. He had easily become a Peerless Saint, but he had needed a great deal of time. Lin Feng had surpassed him by far. At that moment, Lin Feng was thinking that it was extremely difficult to modify the source of something. Making time stop was extremely hard too. At that moment, lights dashed to the skies, flaring brightly. Lin Feng was delighted. The dazzling gold shrine hadn't destroyed their teleportation portal, so the Fortune Shrine's cultivators had used it to arrive. The 7 Shrines Alliance hadn't destroyed their teleportation portal, because they weren't sure the news was true. If they had destroyed it, it would have been even more difficult to teleport. They had done many things though, and had even managed to kill several Peerless Saints of the 3 great alliances. It was already a great loss. Chapter 2485. The 7 Shrines Alliance also realized that the strong cultivators of the Fortune Shrines Alliance were there. Their expressions changed. The Ice and Snow Shrines leader shouted, "Hurry up and kill those people, kill Lin Feng first." "All right," said the Empty Space Shrines leader, nodding. He looked at Lin Feng icily. Lin Feng was strong. They still hadn't managed to kill him yet. "Brother Ox, let's move back," said Lin Feng. He didn't wait for them to attack. He stopped time once again. Only the old ox could avoid being slowed down by time. At the same time, Lin Feng accelerated using time strength. He moved to the Peerless Bestial Saint and took him away. After that, time returned to normal again. Some strong cultivators gathered outside of the Celestial Ceiling map and attacked it. Among them were the Earth Shrine's leader with the Godly Axe, and the Celestial Sound Shrine's leader with their ultimate weapon, a Celestial Pitch Pipe. With the ultimate weapons and the Peerless Saints' attacks, the Celestial map was shaking violently. The Celestial Ceiling map is going to break. The Empty Space Shrine's leader looked extremely worried. But how had Lin Feng escaped a moment before? Everything had happened in a few seconds. Time had stopped. Chase him. The Empty Space Shrine's leader continued chasing Lin Feng. Lin Feng shouted, "Come here." Lin Feng raised his spear and stuck the Celestial Ceiling map. "Break," said Lin Feng. A hole appeared, and Lin Feng jumped into the hole. The Fortune Shrine's leader and the others understood. The Earth Shrine's leader also used the Godly Axe to make the hole bigger. The hole in the map was getting bigger and bigger. Lacerate. All the strong cultivators moved towards the hole and attacked it. It was like the sky was falling. The Empty Space Shrine's leader's face stiffened and turned deathly pale. He waved his hand and recalled the Celestial Ceiling map. However, there was a big hole in it now. Die! The Fortune Shrine's leader and the others came in and released an explosive chi. People from the city were stupefied. They had never seen so many terrifying cultivators. The strongest cultivators of the imperial court of the continent of the Nine Clouds were almost all there. It was the most powerful battle since the war in the ancient past. The group of people who were attacking destroyed a Peerless saint instantly, and then shot in all directions. Earth Shrine's leader, let's join hands. Try and don't fight, don't collide with enemies directly, shouted Lin Feng's furiously. Everybody nodded and started moving away. The Earth Shrine's leader had the godly axe. He came to Lin Feng and asked, "How do we join hands? Help me block the attacks. Brother Ox, help me and protect me too," Lin Feng said to the old ox. A few strong cultivators appeared in front of them, the shrine's leaders who were chasing him. "Stand still," shouted Lin Feng icily. Time's strength appeared, and time stopped in front of him. Time stopped for his enemies and his own people. He had modified the source of time. Lin Feng attacked the Wind Shrine's leader, who was in the front. The Wind Shrine was the fastest of the leaders, so he was closer to Lin Feng. He was even holding an ultimate weapon, a fan that served as an armor too. It was black, white and silver, and it looked extremely sharp. Lin Feng threw himself at the Wind Shrine's leader. He used time's strength to move faster, turned into a god's sword, and the space shook around him. No! The Wind Shrine's leader became animate again when time restarted, looking desperate and shocked. Oh no! The other shrine's leaders were stunned, and their faces all changed. The empty space shrine's leader shouted out. Space condensed, but at the same time, all their attacks became slower. The Earth Shrine's leader knew what Lin Feng wanted to do, so he also threw the godly axe and moved forwards. He realized he was moving much faster too. There was a silhouette next to him. "Die!" shouted Lin Feng furiously. The sword whistled, even as the Wind Shrine's leader moved into the wind. "Slow!" shouted Lin Feng explosively. His sword pierced through the man's shoulder bone, and at the same time it absorbed his strength. Blood gushed out. The Wind Shrine's leader was injured, and continued fleeing. At the same time, he threw his ultimate weapon out, and a destructive strength appeared around Lin Feng. Illusion destruction. Lin Feng's body exploded. However, at that moment, the Wind Shrine's leader wasn't happy because danger came from above. "Time, stand still," shouted Lin Feng. A sword appeared in Lin Feng's hand, and pierced through his enemy's head. The Wind Shrine's leader wanted to escape with his soul, and cried out desperately. The god's sword came back to Lin Feng's hand, and he destroyed the leader's impaled soul. That's his real body. A gigantic empty space hand appeared in front of Lin Feng. The Earth Shrine's leader and the old ox had already destroyed many attacks and enemies around Lin Feng. However, some attacks still arrived in front of Lin Feng. He expected them and withdrew. He modified the speed of time, his god's sword humming angrily. At the same time, he condensed strength into his hand and thunder boomed. Lin Feng sensed an incredible strength penetrate into his body and corrode his life. He instantly released life strength all around him and retreated. The enemy was still chasing him, but he was much slower, which made Lin Feng smile icily. Time! All the strong cultivators stopped. They had just now seen him kill a shrine's leader, and were scared. Now they saw Lin Feng smile. He was making fun of them. They were very nervous, as they understood Lin Feng was playing with them. At the same time, the Earth Shrine's leader and the old ox also arrived next to Lin Feng. "You can make time stop," the Earth Shrine's leader said to Lin Feng. He didn't know what to think though. Was it a good or a bad thing? Lin Feng was becoming stronger, and it was good to fight against the Seven Shrines Alliance. But in the future, what would happen? Dazzling world lights flashed and descended from the sky, surrounding everybody. Lin Feng raised his head and saw a face in the sky, the world clan's king. Lin Feng had seen that person a very, very long time ago. The king of the 10,000 beasts. The world clan had had problems with the shrines in the past, so he had had several lives in the lower world. Then he had created the king of the 10,000 beasts world, to raise an army to fight against the shrines. "Lin Feng, you continue killing. The shrine's leaders and me will continue on our side," the world clan's king said to him. Lin Feng nodded. "Thank you." Lin Feng disappeared. The Fortune Shrine's leader, and the Celestial Sound Shrine's leader, replaced him to fight against the shrine's leaders. They didn't need to win, they just had to defend. Lin Feng could make time stop, so killing other Peerless Saints was easy. Very quickly, Lin Feng arrived in front of someone who panicked to see him. Lin Feng made time stop. The god's sword streaked across the sky and killed him instantly, his soul dispersed. By the time the shrine's leaders destroyed the world lights, they saw that Lin Feng had already killed 2 Peerless Saints in the blink of an eye. They all grimaced. Lin Feng's understanding of cultivation was becoming extremely dangerous. What a tragedy! Escape! Shouted someone. Finally, the 7 shrine's strong cultivators started giving up and escaping. The problem was that Lin Feng could only make time stop sporadically. He didn't understand time well enough yet, and needed to wait between each attack. Therefore, he couldn't make time stop and kill everybody at once. However, he didn't intend to give up. He decided to chase them. The king of the 10,000 beasts had slowed them down for a little while. When Lin Feng made time stop, he used the source of time. It also impacted his own people, so they couldn't catch up with the enemy. Therefore, Lin Feng could only catch up with one person at a time. Lin Feng caught up with one, and used his god's sword to attack him. After killing that person, he used his godly awareness to inspect the area, and stopped when he couldn't see any Peerless Saints anymore. Since he had started chasing them, he had already killed 3 Peerless Saints. Lin Feng's achievements were incredible during that battle, but he didn't look happy at all. It was a tragedy, both sides had suffered losses. Lin Feng turned around and flew back. After a short time, he arrived back on the battlefield. The battle was finished. People who were alive looked devastated and sad. It took cultivators a very long time to become a Peerless Saint, and today, so many had died. Chapter 2486. Gloomy atmosphere. The inhabitants of the city below had been shocked by the battles. The Wind Shrine's leader had even been killed. Lin Feng is so strong. He showed up again, and now he can compete with the shrine's leaders. He can even kill some. How incredible! Murmured some people. Lin Feng went back to the old ox and said, "Brother Ox, I'm sorry. Who would have thought such a thing would happen? You did nothing wrong. The only problem is who sold you out?" said the old ox. Someone had betrayed them. Their plan was perfect. They could have had a beautiful victory. But we still won even if we suffered losses, the old ox sighed. Lights flashed. The Peerless Bestial Saint and the old ox disappeared. Lin Feng took out his jade talisman and said, "How are things?" The Fire Shrine's teleportation portal is wrecked. The Fire Shrine's members haven't had time to come back using teleportation. We're done here. The Fire Shrine is already a mess. I'm looking for your clone, answered the Peerless Bestial Saint who hadn't come with Lin Feng to the Wind Shrine. He had gone to the Fire Shrine with the 9 high-level Bestial Saints. When Lin Feng had noticed the teleportation portal of the Fire Shrine, he had noted its location. Initially, the teleportation portal hadn't been used, because the Fire Shrine's cultivators had already been here. Therefore, Lin Feng had made them break the teleportation portal as quickly as possible. The Peerless Bestial Saint had taken a Peerless Saint's weapon, and the high-level Bestial Saints. They had done a great job. "Thank you for your hard work," said Lin Feng. It had been very dangerous for them. If the Fire Shrine's cultivators had been able to use the teleportation portal, things could have been worse. "We found your clone. How are you there, Lin Feng?" "You can talk to my clone," replied Lin Feng. He put the jade talisman away. His clone had been stuck in the Fire Shrine for so many years. Lin Feng hated the Fire Shrine more than anything. "Lin Feng!" The Fortune Shrine's leader called out to Lin Feng. His silhouette flickered and landed next to him. "Leader, how bad are the losses?" asked Lin Feng. "When we arrived, you had already become even stronger, so we didn't suffer too many losses," replied the Fortune Shrine's leader. But Lin Feng sensed something. The Divine Wrath Alliance's people were looking at him icily. Lin Feng had used them. They had suffered great losses. "Lin Feng, we admit that you are extremely strong and talented. You're an extraordinary person, however. That being the case, you used us to fight against the Fire Shrine, and you didn't use your full strength until the Fortune Shrine's alliance arrived. The 3 great alliances suffered tragic losses. That's not good," said someone. Many people from the 3 great alliances thought that way. They had seen how strong Lin Feng was, and he hadn't protected them properly. They were really unhappy. Lin Feng had really used them for the benefit of the Fortune Shrine. Lin Feng looked at them and said, I know you all think that way. I hadn't thought the battle would end up this way. I am really sorry. Regarding my strength, I became stronger during the battle, and one of my protectors saved my life at that precise moment. Do you really think I would want my allies to get killed? You don't care. From now on, the Fortune Shrine doesn't need to fear the Seven Shrines Alliance. I think the Divine Wrath Shrine should settle here in the Wind Shrine City. If you feel like it, we can settle here, and you can choose a new leader. If you wish, I can continue being the leader, and someday, when the Divine Wrath Shrine becomes stable and powerful enough, I can leave, said Lin Feng. He didn't try to explain anything, he just kept his composure. Many people's heart twitched. Divine Wrath Shrine? I am also willing to offer 3 Peerless Saints weapons as a sign of gratitude, said Lin Feng. Everybody's heart started pounding. They started believing Lin Feng. Maybe it was an accident. I trust him, and I am willing to join you to create the Divine Wrath Shrine, said Zizhu. Everybody glanced at him. Being the founding member of a shrine was really something amazing. Many years in the future, maybe the Divine Wrath Shrine would tower aloft, and everybody in the continent of the 9 clouds would know them. All right, I trust him too. Lin Feng doesn't need to lie to us, said an old man. Everybody started believing him, and most people ended up agreeing to found the Divine Wrath Shrine. Even though they had suffered great losses, the 3 great alliances could now become the Divine Wrath Shrine. Saintly Emperor Shi the Demon and Zizhu were extremely strong, and now they just needed an ultimate weapon. Everybody can discuss the details. The Wind Shrine's ultimate weapon is in the Empty Space Shrine's leader's hands now. He will not give it up for sure, so they will probably argue about it. The Wind Shrine will never be able to rise again. From now on, this place is the Divine Wrath Shrine, said Lin Feng calmly. Excitement began to build. Then Lin Feng looked at the Fortune Shrine's leader and said, Leader, I can't modify the scepter, take it back. The Fortune Shrine's leader looked at Lin Feng. He didn't understand. Lin Feng sounded a bit harsh. Lin Feng, I gave you the Scepter of Destiny, maybe you can't modify it now, but in the future, you will understand, said the Fortune Shrine's leader insistently. Finally Lin Feng nodded reluctantly. Lin Feng. An old man came up to Lin Feng and smiled. Master, King of the 10,000 Beasts. The King of the 10,000 Beasts had helped Lin Feng in the past, so Lin Feng respected him. Call me brother now. Back then, I never thought you would progress so fast, or that you'd change the situation of the continent of the 9 clouds before me, said the King of the 10,000 Beasts, smiling. Brother, I wouldn't have thought it'd be you either. No wonder you came to look for me back then in the small world. And on top of that, you had already transcended worldliness. Back in the days you experienced my lives. One of them was my first life. Back in the days, I founded the World Clan, but the Fire Shrine oppressed me and wanted the World Clan to disappear forever. Therefore, I took my people away and hid in another world for a very long time to practice hard and come back to life, said the King of the 10,000 Beasts, smiling in a carefree manner. But the Fire Shrine's leader is strong. He's already extremely old, older than most of the other leaders. But I intend to take the fighting phantoms with me to go and fight against him. We must destroy the Fire Shrine, said Lin Feng. Yes. When do you want to attack? Asked the King of the 10,000 Beasts. First, the members of the Divine Wrath Shrine need to rest. Our enemies can't pose a threat to us for now, said Lin Feng calmly. Lin Feng, I don't think so. Now is the best opportunity to attack. We could target the dazzling gold shrine, for example, said the Fortune Shrine's leader. I agree. What do you think, Lin Feng? Said the King of the 10,000 Beasts, his smile hard. Lin Feng shook his head. He didn't agree. Since you don't agree, we won't force you. Fortune Shrine's leader, let's go to the dazzling gold shrine together? All right, said the Fortune Shrine's leader, nodded. Then he glanced at Lin Feng in a meaningful way, and left with his group. Very quickly, only the members of the 3 great alliances were left there. Lin Feng gazed into the distance, and the others were in the sky. The only ones who knew who he was were saintly Emperor Shi the demon, the Fortune Shrine's leader, and the diviner. Nobody among the peerless saints of the three great alliances knew who he really was. Someone had sold him out, and that was why they had had such problems. At that moment, someone slowly walked to Lin Feng. Lin Feng turned around and saw the diviner. He smiled and said, "Teacher, I am well aware you couldn't anticipate all this." "Don't worry," the diviner smiled. He was trying to cheer Lin Feng up. "Teacher, it was a man-caused calamity," Lin Feng said to the diviner. The diviner was sad for Lin Feng. He had known Lin Feng for a very long time. He gazed into the distance and said, "Lin Feng, you know, as the leader of a shrine, you think of the shrine first. And making the Fortune Shrine powerful is the Fortune Shrine's leader's goal." Lin Feng's heart twitched and he said, "And everything that happened before? Was that fake?" The diviner sighed and left. Lin Feng looked at the diviner's back. Lin Feng was a member of the Fortune Shrine. What if he had died during the battle? Chapter 2487. Meeting what happened had a big impact on Lin Feng's mood. It took him a while to calm down. What his teacher had told him probably confirmed what he had thought. Everything happened for the Fortune Shrine. But did the Fortune Shrine do their best to protect him for the Fortune Shrine, too? And now, hadn't the Fortune Shrine used that opportunity to use him? Lin Feng still couldn't understand some things in that world. He didn't like using people. He had feelings. Even though he had gone through a lot in life and was strong, he still didn't understand some things. He wasn't emotionless. During those days, things changed drastically in the continent of the Nine Clouds. So many peerless saints had died. The Wind Shrine's leader had died, and the Divine Wrath Shrine had been founded. All those things amazed the whole continent. After that, the Fortune Shrine's alliance destroyed the dazzling Gold Shrine. So just like the Celestial Sound Shrine, they had nowhere to go anymore. Things were changing quickly, and the Seven Shrines Alliance wasn't in the best situation. Right after the Divine Wrath Shrine was founded, many strong cultivators joined them, and it became incredibly strong. They recruited some disciples. They also hoped that peerless saints would join them and become senior officials of the Divine Wrath Shrine. They might become extremely strong in the future that way. However, Lin Feng didn't think about those things. He practiced cultivation really hard. He was meditating and forgot about worldly affairs. He had managed to fuse 3 original strengths together, and he could make time stop for a second. He wanted to improve his powers and abilities now, so he isolated himself from the outside world. On the way, a few of Lin Feng's friends came by, so he stopped meditating and met them. Ho Qing Lin, Lang Yi, and Junemo Shi. Lin Feng was extremely happy to see them. "Lin Feng, when we separated last time, we didn't think you'd become a peerless saint. And now you're even able to stop time. And you've become a shrine's leader," Lang Yi smiled. The Divine Wrath Shrine's leader was still Lin Feng. Over 500 years had passed since he saw them last. Lang Yi had also become stronger. The king of the 10,000 beasts had supported him, and he had a king-type body. He had traveled a lot, and he had created many small worlds, been in many mysterious worlds. He was now a high-level saint. Ho Qing Lin had also become a high-level saint. Shortly after the shrine's agreement 500 years before, Ho Qing Lin had become a low-level saint. Then he had continued practicing cultivation really hard and become a high-level saint. Against all expectations, Junemo Shi was still only a low-level saint. "I didn't think we'd have the opportunity to meet again after all that happened in the continent of the Nine Clouds," said Lin Feng, smiling and clapping his friend's shoulders. "We should have drinks today," said Lang Yi, smiling. "Yes, we should have drinks today," Lin Feng agreed cheerfully. "This time I prepared some strong alcohol," Junemo Shi grinned. They walked aside. Junemo Shi took out many bottles of strong alcohol and threw some of them at his friends. "Lin Feng, do you remember the first time we met?" Lang Yi asked Lin Feng. "I remember. I was with Meng Qing and you helped us." "Haha, yes. Back then, the World Clan thought Meng Qing was a forbidden person. We only learned you were a forbidden person when our leader came back." "The king of the 10,000 beasts went back to the World Clan only afterwards?" asked Lin Feng. He was curious. Yes, he was hiding in one of the world clan's worlds. He trained people, and also practiced cultivation a lot. In the end, he created a terrifying army, and that's how the world clan came back to life, said Lang Yi sighing. So many years had passed, yet the leader of the world clan was still determined. The king of the 10,000 beasts is patient and proud, said Lin Feng, nodding and drinking. He looked at Jun Emoshi and Ho Qing Lin and said, Emoshi, back then in Dragon Mountain, we were very young, high-spirited and vigorous. We never thought we would make this far. We never thought hundreds of years would pass in the twinkling of an eye. And you, brother, back in the days, we were the 11 disciples of Tiantai. We went through so many hardships. We were proud. We dreamed of becoming peerless cultivators. We had to fight against the members of the Tianlong Divine Castle all the time. We even killed their princes, you remember? We weren't afraid, even though nobody thought we had potential. It feels like a dream. Jun Emoshi and Ho Qing Lin remembered. They felt nostalgic all of a sudden. Sometimes they missed the good old times. Sometimes they asked themselves what the point of cultivation was. But it didn't prevent them from persevering and keeping it up. Good men miss the good old times and remember their close ones. Someday, Tiantai will tower aloft in the continent of the 9 clouds again, said Ho Qing Lin. His long hair was fluttering in the wind. He still looked natural and unrestrained. All right, with friends, we're not lonely. Cheers, brothers, said Jun Emoshi, raising his glass, and then they all drank heartily. Lin Feng had fun drinking with his friends. It was rare to be able to relax like that. They drank all day and all night. They had millions of things to talk about. They were like brothers. On the next day, 2 more people came to see Lin Feng. He was extremely happy. They were his sons, Zhetian and Xiongsheng. Jun Emoshi, Ho Qing Lin, Lang Yi, Zhetian and Qing Lin were all together. They chatted and laughed. When the father is a lion, the son cannot be a dog. Lin Feng, your son is stronger than me, said Lang Yi. He couldn't see Zhetian's cultivation level anymore. Xiongsheng had already become a high-level saint. How incredible! They were also very lucky they got a great teacher, Lin Feng smiled. He knew that Zhetian and Xiongsheng were strong, but if they hadn't encountered Mr. Time, they wouldn't have become that strong so quickly. Mr. Time was a terrifying cultivator, but they're extremely talented anyway, Lang Yi observed. Jun Emoshi said, I remember you and you back then during the great competition of Shuiyu. Now so many years have passed and your son is stronger than I am. Uncle Emoshi, don't ridicule me, Xiongsheng told Jun Emoshi. You know who I am? Of course I know you, Uncle Ho Qing Lin and Uncle Lang Yi. My mother told me my dad's and your stories. I want to be like my father, and have such great friends. You know how to talk to people, better than your daddy, said Jun Emoshi, laughing happily. Lin Xiongsheng scratched his head. All right, how come you're here, boys? Asked Lin Feng. Mr. Time had us come back. Mr. Time said that Zhetian could now help you fight. I'm not that strong yet, but I'm sure I'll be able to fuse 2 sorts of special original strengths together soon, said Lin Xiongsheng, smiling self-consciously. Zhetian exclaimed, Dad, I can finally help you. You think I'm not good for fighting anymore? Replied Lin Feng, smiling wryly. Then he heard some steps behind him. Leader, shouted someone. Lin Feng turned around. What's wrong? Leader, the elders want us to join the battles. The Fortune Shrine and the Empty Space Shrine have been having some fierce battles recently. Should we join them as well? The members of the Divine Wrath Shrine knew how strong Lin Feng was. Not only was he strong, but he was also very good in terms of strategy. That's why they wanted to keep Lin Feng as their leader. Yes, tell all the elders that they can listen to Ziju's orders. If I want to fight, I'll intervene, said Lin Feng. That person nodded. Yes, leader. After that, the person walked away. Lin Feng said, I need to meditate in seclusion some more. What do you all intend to do? All right, since you need to study, go and practice cultivation in peace. Don't worry about us, Ho Qing Lin said to Lin Feng. Dad, we'll be around waiting for you, said Zhetian. All right, Lin Feng nodded. He left them, heading to a quiet room, and then going into his own world. Up in the sky, Lin Feng created a pavilion where he could practice cultivation without being disturbed. He could also study his own world there. In the outside world, 500 years had passed. In Lin Feng's world, time initially passed 800% faster, and gradually it increased to more than 1000%. Therefore, thousands of years had passed inside. It had already turned into a continent. There were many cities and cultivators everywhere. In Lin Feng's previous life, 5,000 years were long enough for a country to become a civilization with a culture. It was a very, very long time. Those years, Lin Feng helped his saints become stronger. He had them do various things to improve his own world, and took them as disciples. Chapter 2488. Ruler's godly imprint. Lin Feng sat down cross-legged in his pavilion. In his world he was a god. Now he could do almost anything in his world. He had changed it a lot. The qi in his own world had become mysterious and powerful. In front of him, there were all sorts of strengths, which turned into rivers and flowed towards him. Condense, said Lin Feng. The rivers collided together and condensed. Dazzling golden lights appeared in the sky. They looked like lights of righteousness, noble as a god's halo. Lin Feng was god in his world, but his original strengths hadn't all reached the maximum level. They were just extremely pure, and had turned into a special god's strength. Even if the strengths were not at the maximum level, they were still powerful, and they increased as Lin Feng became stronger. As he studied, his original strengths also became more powerful. These years, Lin Feng had generated more and more clones. They practiced cultivation everywhere, and they studied all sorts of things. Only his real body practiced things which were really specific to him, including things related to his own world. He also wanted to create a godly spell. He had started, but it was still rudimentary. He hadn't managed to finish it. However, after the recent battles, he had almost died, and it had allowed him to understand how to make time stop. Therefore, he had decided to meditate in seclusion. If Ho Qing Lin and the others hadn't come to visit him, he wouldn't have come out. But he had had a great time with his friends. They had talked about all sorts of things, and it had also helped him understand a few things, so it had been beneficial for his cultivation. Perseverance was important. In the world of cultivation, people were usually cold and detached, emotionless. They only cared about their own interests. Lin Feng had gone through so much in life, but he had never become emotionless or heartless. He had compassion, he had feelings. He was attached to his feelings, and he didn't want to give them up. So it was also a way for him to persevere. He wanted to be true to himself no matter what. He didn't want to go against his own convictions. To progress on the path of cultivation, several things were important all along that journey. In the star world, the god had transmitted knowledge to him, because he had studied celestial Tao. He hadn't gone against his own convictions. He was true to himself, and he had received extensive knowledge and a profound scholarship. When he had become a saint, he had decided to be true to himself too, just like Saint Emperor Freeze, who had decided to return to the source. Chu Chun Xiu had actually done the same. He had remained true to himself by going against the will of heaven. He had become his own god, a bit like Lin Feng. When you understand celestial Tao, you remain true to yourself, and you can create your own self, whispered Lin Feng. His state of mind became extremely particular, and he started dreaming. He experienced a lot in that dream. Time passed. He studied and experienced many other people's lives. He studied all sorts of strengths. He studied the celestial evolution holy scriptures, demon skills, the ancient holy techniques. And in his dream, everything flowered briefly like the broad-leaved epiphyllum. Many years passed. In his mind, Lin Feng saw many dazzling stars. Great imperial and imperial qi appeared and intertwined. Lin Feng transformed them. They looked like ancient imprints. A chessboard made of stars appeared. They had their own pulsations, their own patterns, and yet blended into nature. It continued for 3 years, but Lin Feng didn't notice that. Of course, because time was different in his world, in the outside world, only a few months passed. On that day, Lin Feng opened his eyes and dazzling golden lights flashed. He was surrounded by a saint's aura. He looked solemn. His qi looked noble and resembled nature itself. His energies were of the highest quality. Lin Feng's whole body had changed. In order to transmit a saint's technique, you need to use your godly awareness, so nobody can steal or study my saint's technique. If I want to transmit this one, I must transmit it using my godly awareness, he murmured. A saint's technique had to be transmitted using godly awareness. Otherwise the receiver wasn't able to grasp the details. I'm a god here. Everything is like an imprint I created. Therefore, I will call this attack my ruler's godly imprint, he declared. The ruler's godly imprint could replace the god's sword. It was much more powerful. When Lin Feng thought about it, he inspected the whole world and went to the holy place of Shuiyu. The empire of Shuiyu had become a place with many extremely strong cultivators. It had become much bigger too. Shuiyu was as big as a city of the continent of the 9 clouds. There were many saints there. Saint emperors were also quite common. Emperors were considered weak. There were trillions of them. Lin Feng arrived in Shuiyu and spent some time with his family members. He also convoked the saints of Shuiyu and taught them various things. The saints of Shuiyu considered Lin Feng a god. They all bowed before him. Lin Feng brought his 2 sons to his world. Then he attended to the Divine Wrath Shrine. There were still many incredible battles in the continent of the 9 clouds. The different influential groups of the continent were relentless. They all wanted to become stronger, and they all wanted to take advantage of those chaotic times to rise. Lin Feng went up to a saint of the Divine Wrath Shrine and asked, "What does the situation of the shrines look like now?" Back then the Empty Space Shrines Alliance lost. The Empty Space Shrine wanted to use the Wind Shrine's precious treasure. 2 saints from the Wind Shrine remained, and they didn't agree. But the Empty Space Shrine's leader killed them instantly. At the same time, the Empty Space Shrine's leader sent people to kill some others from their own alliance who didn't agree with him. The other shrines of their alliance didn't want to offend the Empty Space Shrine's leader anymore. The celestial ceiling map was broken. The Wind Shrine's ultimate weapon was a kind of substitute. If they continue having inner conflicts, they'll become weaker and weaker. The Empty Space Shrine's alliance had a few inner conflicts, and the Fortune Shrine attacked them a few times. But the losses were too important. Now, if the Empty Space Shrine's alliance fights against the Fortune Shrine's alliance, they'll both suffer great losses. Nobody has the advantage anymore. There's an equilibrium in the balance of power now. In the imperial court of the continent of the 9 clouds, the influential groups are all competing. There are a few incredible cultivators, especially one of them, Chu Chunqiu, who used to be a member of the Fortune Shrine. He's turned into a gigantic demon. He can now destroy entire sects or clans instantly. When he does so, he absorbs their strong cultivators' vitality. He created an incredibly powerful sky-absorbing saint's technique, and can absorb people's strength. It is said that he has already killed and absorbed the strength of billions of people. And he started 500 years ago. Now his victims are just stronger and stronger. Many strong cultivators in the continent of the 9 clouds are watching him. When Lin Feng heard that, he shivered. Chu Chunqiu had decided to become a real destructive demon. He just killed anyone as long as he could become stronger. How dangerous. All right, I understand, Lin Feng nodded. The news that he had stopped meditating in seclusion quickly spread. A few months later, the king of the 10,000 beasts came to see Lin Feng. He asked Lin Feng, "How come you didn't tell us you had stopped meditating in seclusion?" Lin Feng smiled. "Brother, do you need my help? Back in the days, we agreed we'd destroy our enemies. We said we would stand at the very top of the world. Now we have an opportunity, so of course I came to see you. What do you think?" said the king of the 10,000 beasts. Lin Feng's eyes twinkled. He asked, "What is your idea?" "Right now the Fire Shrine and the others are already extremely weak. I want to attack both the Fire Shrine and the Dazzling Gold Shrine at the same time. This time, we'll crush the Dazzling Gold Shrine, and we'll cut the Fire Shrine's wings. What do you think?" the king of the 10,000 beasts asked. Lin Feng was surprised. "We can't let the same thing as last time happen this time. I will send my people to the Fire Shrine to watch them. When we're sure we can attack," said the king of the 10,000 beasts sharply. Lin Feng sighed, his eyes glittered, and he said, Alright, I'll convoke the members of the Divine Wrath Shrine. Let's get ready to go to the dazzling gold shrine. Chapter 2489. Champions battling the dazzling gold shrine was not very lucky. They had been attacked several times, but at the same time, they didn't collapse completely. The fire shrine helped them survive. Lin Feng had turned into someone else, and the king of the 10,000 beasts had done the same thing. They were both walking around like ordinary people near the dazzling gold shrine. The king of the 10,000 beasts' illusion abilities were really good. When we attack, they'll use the teleportation portals. Then the world clan will attack. You can waste some time. I will send some people to guard the teleportation portals, and after that we can destroy them. Then, we can wipe the dazzling gold shrine off the maps of the continent of the 9 clouds forever. The king of the 10,000 beasts told Lin Feng telepathically. If anyone around them had heard that, they would have been astonished. The king of the 10,000 beasts sounded quite casual, as if wiping a shrine off the map of the continent was something normal. Alright, said Lin Feng nodded. If the fire shrine and their allies had given up their fortresses, they could have survived longer, but they hadn't. And in such circumstances, their enemies could attack them more easily. When a shrine weakened, their enemies never missed the opportunity to attack and destroy them. Now it was time to settle some accounts. Lin Feng raised his head and looked at the castles in the sky. He remembered back then what the king of the 10,000 beasts had told them. Who would ever disdain them if they stood at the very top? Finally, it was time to rise to the very top. There, it's going to start, said the king of the 10,000 beasts. After a short time, an incredible empty space strength emerged from a castle. Lights flashed and dashed to the skies. Someone was using the teleportation portal. Come out! Suddenly, world lights rolled through the sky. People came out of world coffins, and she invaded the space. It happened so suddenly that the members of the dazzling gold shrine were extremely nervous. Suddenly, the world coffins descended from the sky and attacked people. Many people died instantly. More world lights emerged from the world clan's army and surrounded the whole dazzling gold shrine. They continued slaughtering people. They were merciless. Those were the rules of war. If they didn't kill, they would get killed, just like the Soul Shrine back then. They had to completely annihilate their enemies. Otherwise they would come back to life, and then they'd be able to get their revenge, just like the World Clan. If the World Clan had been completely destroyed back then, they wouldn't have been able to come back to life, and now they were destroying their old enemies. In the sky, more empty space strength undulated, and the king of the 10,000 beasts whispered, "They're back, let's go." He turned into a beam of light and disappeared. Lin Feng was watching with his godly awareness, so he could see everything. Very quickly, the king of the 10,000 beasts people destroyed the teleportation portals of the dazzling gold shrine. The king of the 10,000 beasts was in the sky and cast an escape-proof net of strength to seal the area. World lights glittered and formed a vortex that was the only exit. Only the king of the 10,000 beasts could have such powerful world lights, thought Lin Feng. Figures appeared all around, all strong cultivators from the Divine Wrath Shrine. They moved quickly in all directions. At the same time, Lin Feng flew up and landed on a castle's roof. He could see all the battles from there. The dazzling gold shrine's leader's face was deathly pale. He saw Lin Feng, who had transformed again. This time, Lin Feng's face was his real face. He returned to his normal face. Lin Feng, you created the Divine Wrath Shrine. Why do you join hands with them to slaughter us? Aren't you afraid? After you destroy us, I think the Fortune Shrine's alliance will destroy you, and the Divine Wrath Shrine, said the dazzling gold shrine's leader icily, staring at Lin Feng. You remember the sky-destroying sword in the Fortune Shrine, and the Rock King's surprise attack? If I weren't lucky, I'd be dead already, said Lin Feng calmly. He even looked indifferent. Since it's that way, go ahead and die then. The dazzling gold shrine's leader took out the sky-destroying sword, a sharp chi filling the air. The dazzling gold shrine's leader flew up and threw himself at Lin Feng. Time stand still, said Lin Feng icily. Everything stopped around him. Even the destructive sword lights stopped. Lin Feng slowly walked towards the dazzling gold shrine's leader. Time had stopped, and he looked extremely fast. Lin Feng released an incredible strength, millions of ancient imprints appearing. It was ruler's strength, noble and supreme. It condensed and absorbed the chi of the earth and the sky. The ancient imprints looked like the marks of the gods. The dazzling gold shrine's leader came back to awareness. His sky-destroying sword continued moving. It contained ultimate strength and explosive power. On the ground, saints were fighting, and chi exploded everywhere. Bodies exploded as saints died. What an incredible battle! Surprisingly, he can resist an ultimate weapon, thought the members of the dazzling gold shrine on the ground. A disaster had befallen them. Their leader who had an ultimate weapon was their only hope. However, Lin Feng could resist their leader. He was terrifying. Only a god can rule over the world, said Lin Feng. He was standing in the sky, and looked like an immortal god. Heavy ruler's godly imprints kept bombarding the space. The dazzling gold shrine's leader felt oppressed. His heart was pounding, and he was getting more and more nervous, grasping his sword firmly for reassurance. He shouted, and the space around him became golden, but Lin Feng's god's strength absorbed them right away. At the same time, the dazzling gold shrine's leader had the impression time had stopped. His sword couldn't move forwards. "You can't destroy me," shouted the shrine's leader. He turned golden, looking like an ancient statue. The ruler's godly imprints bombarded his body, and he trembled. The ruler's godly imprints contained a supreme strength, including fusions of original strengths at the maximum level. Lin Feng's ruler's godly imprints contained the strength of the 10,000 things of creation. The golden body crackled with almost musical notes as it began to break. The dazzling gold shrine's leader shouted desperately, "No!" His body exploded into a million pieces. The river of imprints swept him away, and he vanished. A shrine's leader had just died. People on the ground were astonished, their hearts pounding. Their leader was dead. What kind of attack was that? It was so explosive. He can now kill shrine's leaders, cultivators who stand at the top of the continent of the 9 clouds, cried the members of the dazzling gold shrine. They realized it was their judgment day. Lin Feng took the sky-destroying sword. He glanced around and continued walking forwards. He released ruler's godly imprints into the area around him. A peerless cultivator didn't have time to escape and exploded. The peerless cultivator of the World Clan facing him was astonished, staring at Lin Feng and remaining motionless. Lin Feng's strength was too incredible. Lin Feng's attack was supreme. It was already more powerful than a peerless saint's attack. "Go and clear up the mess," murmured Lin Feng. The World Clan and the Divine Wrath Shrine had joined hands to destroy the dazzling gold shrine, and the dazzling gold shrine's leader was dead. In a short time, the dazzling gold shrine was wiped off the maps of the continent of the 9 clouds. The king of the 10,000 beasts landed next to Lin Feng and said, "I've always known you'd become that strong. I am not going to destroy the teleportation portals then. We can use them and continue. Don't worry. Pick everything up," said Lin Feng calmly. The king of the 10,000 beasts nodded. He knew that after that battle, Lin Feng would become a legendary cultivator of the continent of the 9 clouds. "Father!" Zhetian's silhouette flickered, and he arrived next to Lin Feng, looking pleasantly surprised. His father was so strong. "Let's go," said Lin Feng. They left the dazzling gold shrine, which had been completely razed to the ground. That was one less legendary shrine in the continent of the 9 clouds. The battle at the dazzling gold shrine amazed the entire continent of the 9 clouds. It became a symbol, a sign that a nightmare had started for the shrines. The forbidden body had shown up, and everything in the continent changed. Lin Feng quickly became a legend in the continent of the 9 clouds. People started considering him as a god. Nobody had thought that someone could become so strong so quickly. He had made a great show of his talents. He was the forbidden person. Nobody could compete with him. Chapter 2490. Decisive Battle. The Fire Shrine's alliance was shaken. The Wind Shrine had been destroyed. Now the dazzling Gold Shrine had been destroyed. The Divine Wrath Shrine had risen, and their leader was considered a god by many. He could kill Shrine's leaders who had ultimate weapons. The 7 Shrine's Alliance members who remained were panic-stricken, scared their judgment day had come. The 5 Shrine's leaders gathered in the Fire Shrine. They didn't know what to think. "What should we do now?" asked the Thunder Shrine's leader after a long time. He was an incredible cultivator, but at that moment, he looked scared and dispirited. Were they going to be destroyed as well? "I invited the strongest cultivators of the Rock clan to gather here. Let's wait for them to arrive," said the Fire Shrine's leader calmly. "We should give up and escape." "How could I give up my shrine? We're extremely powerful," said the Demon Shrine's leader icily. "I want to fight. We're 5 shrines, we still have 5 ultimate weapons. With the members of the Rock clan, we are definitely stronger," said the Ice and Snow Shrine's leader. The eyes of the Empty Space Shrines and the Thunder Shrine's leaders glittered. They had to come up with a decision, but in any case, they had already reached a point of no return. According to rumors, Lin Feng has already become stronger than Peerless Saints. "How could we win against him?" said the Thunder Shrine's leader. He has completely transcended worldliness and become a god," said the Fire Shrine's leader looking at him. "You think that if a god wants to kill you, you can just escape and hide? Besides, do you really believe he could have become a god? Impossible. He's just a strong Peerless Saint, because he fused lots of special original strengths together. And then he created some powerful attacks. As long as he's a Peerless Saint, we can kill him. The thing is that he can almost make time stop. We just have to be very careful. The problem is when he manages to use that technique on us. He can easily attack us while we're powerless. We just have to be careful, and we won't end up like the dazzling Gold Shrine's leader." Everybody nodded. They had to fight. The news that the Fire Shrine's Alliance wanted to have a final battle against the Divine Wrath Shrine, and the Fortune Shrine's Alliance quickly spread throughout the continent of the 9 Clouds. Everybody in the continent of the 9 Clouds was watching the Fire Shrine, the final battle of the continent of the 9 Clouds. Who would finish at the top? Of course, the Fortune Shrine's Alliance, and the Divine Wrath Shrine heard about it too. Lin Feng was in the former territory of the Fortune Shrine. There were many strong cultivators in a palace there. When Lin Feng arrived, he saw the Fortune Shrine's leader and the others. Their fortune robes were fluttering in the wind. The Fortune Shrine's leader and the diviner glanced at one another. Something unusual was going on, everybody could feel it. Lin Feng frowned and slowly walked forwards. "What's the matter, teacher?" "Nothing. Lin Feng, don't get involved. I have a bad premonition. My visions are ominous," said the diviner. The Fortune Shrine's leader looked nervous. He looked glum and said icily, "Move back." The diviner looked at the leader and said indifferently, "Leader, please revoke your order." "Insolent!" shouted the Fortune Shrine's leader icily. His eyes were filled with killing intent. He jumped forwards. The diviner groaned with pain and took steps backwards. Lin Feng was startled and asked, "Teacher, what happened?" "Lin Feng, stay away from the Fortune Shrine," said the diviner, smiling at Lin Feng. Someone looked at him icily. "I would love to know how well you hid your real strength," said the Fortune Shrine's leader. He jumped forwards and threw his hand at the diviner. "Stop!" shouted Lin Feng icily, his facial expression changing darkly. "Time, stand still." Time stopped. Lin Feng moved towards the diviner at the speed of light, landing next to him, and threw his hand at the leader's hand, which was moving towards the diviner. Time became normal again. People were stunned. How could there be an internal conflict at the time of a decisive battle? "Good boy, Maradeva. Mandate of heaven, die," shouted the Fortune Shrine's leader icily. Destiny's strength surrounded the diviner, and he screamed. He couldn't compete with the Fortune Shrine's leader. "I am not afraid of death. That being the case, I hope that you can go against the principles of heaven, leader," said the diviner. His silhouette became illusory, he could die at any second. Lin Feng was furious. He stopped time again, and moved like the wind. He released Ruler's godly imprints, which turned into sharp swords and shot towards the Fortune Shrine's leader. Time had thoroughly stopped at that moment. Lin Feng took out a sharp sword which shot towards the Fortune Shrine's leader. The Fortune Shrine's leader was looking at Lin Feng calmly, he didn't resist. "Lin Feng!" shouted voices furiously. Lin Feng's hand struck the Fortune Shrine's leader's shoulder. which burst apart, blood going everywhere. However, the leader was still staring at Lin Feng. "If you kill me, then it's the will of heaven, and I won't be mad at you," said the Fortune Shrine's leader calmly. Lin Feng shouted furiously, "What is going on?" "Take it," said the Fortune Shrine's leader, smiling at Lin Feng. He gave Lin Feng something and said, "Everybody, I am not going to join the decisive battle. From now on, the members of the Fortune Shrine can listen to Lin Feng. Respect Lin Feng like you respect me. I also hope that the Earth Shrine and the Celestial Sound Shrine can join hands with the Divine Wrath Shrine, and that you will be able to destroy the Fire Shrine." Lin Feng remained silent. He took what the leader had given to him and turned around, looking at the diviner. "Don't go," said the diviner, shaking his head. "I don't want anything to happen to you, teacher," said Lin Feng. He rose up in the air and ordered, "Let's go." Everybody followed him, including the members of the Fortune Shrine. They all flew towards the Fire Shrine. People in Fortune City looked at the cultivators in the sky and shivered. Was it time for the decisive battle? The Fire Shrine's strong cultivators had already gathered in a battle formation, waiting for them. A strong wind started blowing, and the atmosphere became oppressive. Every cultivator who wasn't involved fled. It was far too dangerous there. "Die," said Lin Feng. The strong cultivators behind him didn't dare move too fast. If one person was too far out in the front, they could get surrounded easily. "Great Celestial Seal," said someone. The earth and sky seemed to freeze. Everybody found it difficult to move. It was the power of an ultimate weapon. "Time stand still," said Lin Feng. All the attacks stopped moving. The old ox and Lin Feng destroyed the attacks which had stopped in the sky. Time became normal again. Zizhu said, "Time freeze." The strong cultivators of the Fire Shrine's alliance had started moving again, but now they stopped again. Lin Feng looked at a Peerless saint aggressively, like an angry god. That figure turned into a beam of light. The ruler's godly imprints made space tremble and surrounded that cultivator. When the crowd saw Lin Feng's attack, they were astonished. He looked like an almighty god. Everybody was shaking violently. They didn't dare get too close to him. "Thunder Shrine leader, attack him with your hammer," said the Fire Shrine leader. The Thunder Shrine leader was surrounded by celestial lightning. A terrifying lightning strength thundered around him. "Empty Space Shrine leader, let's join hands," said the Ice and Snow Shrine leader. They both flew towards a Peerless saint of the Divine Wrath Shrine. "Empty Space freeze. Great Celestial Seal," shouted the two cultivators. Then they stopped. The Empty Space Shrine's leader disappeared and reappeared in front of someone. He threw his fist at him, and the space broke around him. A cultivator also released an Ice and Frost attack. The Ice and Frost Shrine's leader had also used his terrifying ultimate weapon and killed a strong cultivator. When the leaders of two shrines joined hands, their power was explosive. Earth Shrine leader, fight against the Thunder Shrine leader. Celestial Sound Shrine leader, fight against the Fire Shrine leader. Saintly Emperor Shi the Demon, fight against the Demon Shrine leader. "Zizhu and Brother Ox, follow me," said Lin Feng, moving towards the Ice and Frost Shrine and the Empty Space Shrine leaders. Zizhu and the Old Ox followed him. They were both incredible warriors. With Lin Feng, they could probably destroy their enemies easily. At that moment, whistles from extreme speed could be heard. In the distance, a group of gigantic rocks appeared. The leader of the group was the Rock King. "We knew you'd come." World lights flashed in the sky. A group of godly dragons appeared, King Dragon leading them. "King Rock, you thought you were using them, and in the end they used you. How ridiculous," said King Dragon mockingly. The Rock King's eyes looked sharp at the humiliation. He was the fastest creature in the continent of the 9 clouds. Nobody dared make fun of him. Who would dare fight against him alone? Chapter 2491. Acknowledge allegiance. People on the ground saw the members of the Rock Clan and the Dragon Clan fighting. The two great animal clans were also participating in this battle. The fate of the continent of the 9 clouds was at stake. Lin Feng, Zizhu, and the Old Ox continued flying towards the Empty Space Shrine leader and the Ice and Frost Shrine leader. Those 5 cultivators already held the lives countless powerful cultivators in their hands. They were dangerous. The empty space shrine and the ice and snow shrine leaders watched their 3 enemies. They couldn't help but withdraw in fear. Curse, said Lin Feng. Cursing strength appeared in front of him, and he also created a few clones. His cursing strength turned into a river, corroding the enemy's luck and life. Combining cursing strength with water made it flow with even more power. Everybody around felt sick. Empty space shrine leader, don't you have 2 ultimate weapons? Take them out, said the ice and snow shrine leader. The celestial ceiling map is broken. I can't fix it. And I didn't manage to modify the other one, so I can't use it properly, said the empty space shrine leader, annoyed. Time strength appeared around them as the old ox attacked. Zizhu called Lin Feng. Zizhu understood and time froze. Lin Feng and the old ox attacked at the same time. Great celestial seal, shouted the ice and snow shrine leader coldly. His ultimate weapon floated out in front of him. Break, shouted Lin Feng, releasing his ruler's godly imprints, which seemed like they could break anything. The great celestial seal undulated and crackled under Lin Feng's overlapping attacks. At the same time, he continued moving forward, looking like an ancient god. Who could compete with him? The empty space shrine leader was frightened and released empty space strength to surround himself. He was trying to penetrate into another space. Time stand still, said Lin Feng. Everything stopped moving around him. Lin Feng charged at the empty space shrine leader. He landed in front of the man and released his ruler's godly imprints again. The empty space shrine leader's face turned deathly pale. Time became normal again, and he immediately released empty space, trying to isolate himself from the outside world. The ruler's godly imprints smashed into the space around Lin Feng with brutal explosions. Space trembled, and the sky seemed about to collapse. The empty space was shattered. The empty space shrine leader looked terrified he couldn't escape. Time condensation. Zizhu attacked the empty space shrine leader as well, which slowed the latter down. At the same time, the old ox and Lin Feng accelerated as Lin Feng released fast strength. At this moment, Lin Feng was much faster than the empty space shrine leader. Destroy. Lin Feng continued attacking the empty space shrine leader with imprints. The empty space shrine leader tried to isolate himself in another space again. However, his empty space strength broke apart instantly. He was at a dead end and had nowhere to escape to. The Peerless god's strength surrounded him. His body exploded into 1 billion pieces, and he vanished. He was dead. The hearts of those watching pounded violently in astonishment. Lin Feng's strength had become extreme. Nobody could fight against him alone anymore. With the help of Zizhu and the old ox, it was even more incredible. The trio looked like killing gods. Nobody could stop them. What should we do? The Thunder Shrine leader cried out while attacking, the Earth Shrine leader blocking him. Another shrine leader had died. How tragic. He turned around and saw the Fire Shrine leader and the Demon Shrine leader. They didn't want to fight anymore. They knew they could die anytime. Their enemies were too strong. What he saw made him speechless. The strong cultivators who had charged forth under a hail of attacks were all members of the Empty Space Shrine and the Thunder Shrine. The 3 other shrines were trying to escape. They didn't fight. Back! Shouted the Thunder Shrine leader furiously. He realized that apart from him, only 2 peerless saints were left among the strong cultivators of the Thunder Shrine. Haha! How awesome! Shouted the Earth Shrine leader happily. They could finally compete with their enemies. Back! It's a battle to the death. The leader of the continent of the 9 clouds will be determined at the end of this battle, said the Fire Shrine leader coldly. The Thunder Shrine leader was furious and shouted, Qiangyang, what is that supposed to mean? After this battle, we'll know who the new leader of the continent of the 9 clouds is, stated the Fire Shrine leader coldly. Those watching were appalled. He was clearly in a position of weakness, and he dared act that arrogantly? During the battle in the ancient past, a god died. Now it's different. A god is going to rise. A forbidden person is rising. But just who is going to become a god? Shouted the Fire Shrine leader. His voice reverberated far away. The Fire Shrine leader was extraordinarily old, a very ancient shrine leader. just like the Fortune Shrine leader. They were both incredibly strong. But Lin Feng, a forbidden person, was rising at the speed of light. Why was the Fire Shrine leader still so confident and arrogant? At that moment, the crowd's attention turned to the Ice and Snow Shrine leader, who had arrived next to him. "Are you ready?" asked the Fire Shrine leader. "I've been practicing the godly skills for such a long time, all for today, right? I will do my best to stand at the very top of the continent of the 9 clouds," said the Ice and Snow Shrine calmly. "We've been patient for so many years. Since we weren't talented enough to become gods, we have to rely on our own strength to make things change in this world. From now on, you and I will become the gods of this world," shouted the Fire Shrine leader. His hand streaked across the sky, and his flames started burning. Manifold flames dazzled and sparkled around him, a magnificent sight. His chi was as hot as the sun. He was fire itself. The Ice and Snow Shrine leader did the same thing. His hand streaked across the sky. His body turned into ice, becoming almost invisible. His body was extremely cold, cold enough to freeze time and space. Patterns appeared between them and condensed. They turned into 8 dazzling trigrams. Yin and Yang. Yin Yang. The crowd shook violently. The existence of the 10,000 things of creation was closely related to Yin and Yang. They were the source of all things. The earth and sky, the sun and the moon, coldness and heat, men and women. Everything had a dual nature because of Yin and Yang. The Fire Shrine leader had studied Yang's strength, while the Ice and Snow Shrine leader had studied Yin's strength. And now they were fusing their strengths together. "Hurry up and stop them," shouted the old ox. His facial expression had changed drastically. Lin Feng was stupefied and shouted furiously, "Time, stop!" Lin Feng bombarded that area with a chronal attack. The 8 trigrams pattern flashed and defied his power. He could only grimace. "It's useless. Everything exists because of Yin and Yang. Cultivators have to fuse 2 sorts of original strengths together to become peerless saints, probably due to the nature of life, to Yin and Yang. Life and death, fire and water, everything is Yin and Yang. We've both been practicing Yin and Yang strengths for countless years. We knew we couldn't become gods on our own, but we also knew that ancient gods had left Yin and Yang godly skills and techniques. So we decided to study Yin and Yang strengths together. Thanks to you, the forbidden person, we finally managed to master the technique. Now we can modify Yin and Yang strength, and from now on, we'll be the new gods of the continent of the 9 clouds." The Fire Shrine and Ice and Snow Shrine leaders said in eerie unison. They sounded exactly the same. They had turned into one person. It was astonishing to see. Just for more strength, they had decided to learn a technique which defied the laws of the world. Those 2 shrines leaders didn't care about anything anymore. They were willing to do anything to become stronger. "You 2 are good actors. You didn't want other people to understand your plans." "I see. Who would have thought that you were insane?" said the Earth Shrine leader, pulling a long face. The 2 shrine leaders glanced at each other and smiled. "We chose to walk the path of cultivation. And the most important thing for a cultivator is to become the strongest one in the world. The forbidden body appeared in the world, which means that a god is missing. If he dies, I'll become a god." The 2 shrine leaders were fusing together. An incredible strength surrounded them and began to expand. Yin and Yang were fusing together in their new body, a perfect fusion. The Fire Shrine and the Ice and Snow Shrine cultivators were totally dumbfounded. They had no idea such a thing would happen. A strange light appeared in the sky. A river of Yin and Yang strengths appeared. Qi transformed and penetrated into their bodies, and they joined together. The fusion of the 2 cultivators opened his eyes. There was a new body and new Qi. That new cultivator didn't look as aggressive as the shrine leaders. He looked every bit as incredible as Lin Feng, like a king and a god. "From now on, I'm a supreme cultivator. I'm Ice Fire. I'm the supreme cultivator of the continent of the 9 clouds," said the man, smiling proudly. "I'll spare the lives of those who obey my orders," said Ice Fire regally. He wanted everybody to acknowledge allegiance to him. He would forget and not bear recriminations against those who submitted, no matter whether they were their enemies in the past or not. Everybody remained silent. Icefire smiled. People still didn't seem to understand, it seemed. Icefire looked at someone and flashed away. Die! Icefire pointed at the Peerless Saint, and suddenly Yin and Yang Qi turned into an incredible dragon. The man's face turned deathly pale. The Yin and Yang dragon absorbed him, and he immediately perished. A Peerless Saint had just died in the blink of an eye. As the cultivator disappeared, Icefire glanced around with his godly awareness. He looked like a conquering hero, wanting the whole world to serve him as his subjects. "Greetings, Supreme Cultivator!" cried out the members of the Fire Shrine and the Ice and Snow Shrine as they submitted. Their leaders had fused together, so they could accept him as a new leader without qualms. "Greetings, Supreme Cultivator!" After that, the members of the Empty Space Shrine acknowledged allegiance to him. "Greetings, Supreme Cultivator!" The Thunder Shrine cultivators also bowed. Icefire turned his eyes on the Thunder Shrine leader, whose face stiffened. The Yin and Yang Qi made him lower his head, and he said, "Greetings, Supreme Cultivator Icefire. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.